Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Starring Pepe Lloyd.
Je m'appelle Jacques.
This is a shame.
There he is. He's gone full Euro.
Stupid Americans.
People travel for 1 week. This is why you shouldn't go on vacation.
Yeah.
You lost yourself.
Yeah.
Oui.
Did your wife buy berets for everybody, and then you were all walking around with berets like in European vacation?
No, I horrified my daughter when I put this on.
Oh, God, she must have been. Yes.
And I said, I'm wearing this on the show. She goes, Dad, you can't. I'm like, I'm 100% wearing this on the show.
I told everybody for the black community, he looks like Young Jeezy on the Recession 2 album. That's exactly what this look is. That's the look he's going for, and I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you should take every chance you have to harass your children wearing this outfit.
Well, I had another hat on this morning for the Cavs show.
Yeah, right.
And I did. That's Alessia looked at it. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm married to an old man now. I can't believe you like that." I'm like, "I love this hat.
Did you have a Kango?
Huh?
Did you have a Kango?
I don't know what it's called. It's one of those like little brim hats.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
it was funny.
Cool. So these are the only souvenirs I bought from Paris for myself. Was a beret.
I feel like you should be smoking during the show now.
I mean, I could. I think Tegna would throw me out of the building.
Yeah,
if I
maybe.
tried to light up.
Did you have fun?
No pipe.
We had a great time. We walked about 30 miles in 3 days. My
Wow.
children will not speak to me now until probably July. We went to every museum and every church in Paris, I think.
Oh, really? You were into that, huh?
Well, I mean, there was more than just me on this trip.
That's true.
So we went to the Louvre, we saw the Mona Lisa. We went to Musée d'Orsay. We went to the Arc de Triomphe, Notre Dame. You name it, we did it.
We did it.
And,
all right.
It was great. We had a
So why are your kids mad? Why are they not going to talk to you? All the walking? And they're young.
all the museums
too much.
and all the walking. It was a lot of walking.
All right.
This is
they're
why,
young, though.
That's why you don't go on vacation.
That's the most ridiculous statement of all time.
He missed us.
I did.
He missed
I feel like we haven't seen Jason
he
forever.
missed us
been a
so
while.
much
Yeah.
that he had to drop a bomb before he came
Well, you
back.
know what's
That's
funny
true.
about that? We'll
Yeah.
get to that in a minute. But so we were walking into the Eiffel Tower when the news broke of Myles.
Yeah.
And I put on the text chain to you guys, like, exactly, that's how Jimmy solves problems.
Yeah, right.
And so then, you feel like you got to say something. I'm on a different continent. So I just opened my Twitter account and say, Jimmy knows one way to solve problems, throw money at it. And it said something about Myles and nobody looks great, whatever, and click send.
Yeah.
Put the phone in my back pocket and walk into the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And apparently a lot of people were not happy with that.
People were pissed.
But a lot of people agree with it too. And so I thought, all right, well, I should probably write a column on it when I get home. So that's what I did. And it went up this morning. And I think, one of the few times I actually looked through the comments. And a lot of people agreed. A lot of people disagreed, but a lot of people agreed with it. So.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, most people don't have. How would a fan agree or disagree? They don't even know what's going on in the locker room, right?
Just in terms of, I made the point, I thought they should have traded him.
Oh, that part of it. I thought you
And-
meant in terms of his behavior in the locker room.
No. Just
Yeah.
in terms of Jimmy tries to solve all his problems by throwing money at him.
Right.
And I still think they should trade Myles. Not because he requested a trade, but because it was the best thing for the franchise at the time.
Yeah, and in terms of, and Mike, you want to do a read before we jump more into this?
I'll take this.
No, we're going to do the article at about 11:30. We
that's
We want
right.
to build up to it because we want people to hop in here.
You're right.
I got a lot of questions about that. We're going to start with some
All
Russell
right,
Wilson stuff.
we'll get into that because there's
We're
a
going to
lot
get to the article, yes.
to jump into when it comes to that. Let's hear from FanDuel first.
Yeah, let's get to FanDuel. We'll start with Russ Wilson. I promise you guys we will get to Jason's article. We'll dive deep into it and all of what he wrote in there. But first, a quick reminder, guys, that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It is undisputed, and with March Madness here, FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's going to cut down the nets if you like underdogs. The 5-12 is always a popular upset. 4s have lost to 13s in each of the last 6 NCAA tournaments. If you like one of those, FanDuel has great odds, props, anything you could think of. You can find it on FanDuel in terms of the March Madness betting. So just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get it on the college hoops action all tournament long. And if you have a winning ticket, make sure you send it in to us, guys. We have a winning ticket today from Joshua Heisler, who won a 10-leg same-game parlay bet on the Cavs-Nets game from Tuesday. Wasn't a huge one, but he had the Cavs money line, Allen, Garland, Mobley, over points. He had Allen rebounds, Mobley assists, Strus assists, Garland assists, made threes from Garland and Strus. It all hit, and Joshua Heisler turned $25 into $105. So shout out to Joshua Heisler for the big win. If you have a winning FanDuel ticket, make sure you tweet it at us, send us an email, and we will feature it here on the show in the coming days. Bull, let's talk about Russell Wilson first.
Yeah.
According to all reports, Russell Wilson is in Cleveland today visiting with the Cleveland Browns. We don't know what the meeting entails. He's meeting with the Giants tomorrow, but today he is in Cleveland meeting with Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, and the Browns front office. Of all the bridge quarterback options, Bull, is Russell Wilson a good choice for the Cleveland Browns?
Russell Wilson's the latest. The answer is yes. It's funny. We've spent a lot of time talking about veteran quarterbacks for the Browns. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure exactly why, I don't think we've even mentioned Russell Wilson that I can recall. We certainly haven't had any kind of long discussion about the possibility of Russell Wilson. Now, I feel like whenever we start a conversation about who's going to be the bridge quarterback potentially for the Browns, it always has to begin with they're not winning the Super Bowl with any of these guys. I think we understand that. So what are you trying to accomplish with a potential bridge quarterback? Good mentor for the young player that you're going to bring in, whether it's this year or potentially next. Somebody that you think can competently run Kevin Stefanski's system. Someone that has high character. The Browns have spent the last bunch of years with no character concerns. What I mean by that is they haven't cared about character concerns. And I look at Russell Wilson and I say, Russell Wilson's a high character player. He may be a cornball, as everybody says, but there's no questioning he's a high character guy. There's no concern with him off the field. He appears to be a good person. Can he make the Browns offense competent, and can he run Kevin Stefanski's system 100%? He is, with all his flaws as a player, especially the last couple of years, he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. 11 interceptions over the last 2 years. That's not a lot. So he's generally smart with the football. He also is durable. I know he missed some games at the beginning of last season, but that's an anomaly. You know from your time with him in Seattle. The guy doesn't miss games, almost never. I know he's older, but so are all these other guys we're talking about. So if you do draft a rookie this year and you don't want to have him play before you think he's ready, Russell Wilson is much more likely to make it through the season than a Kirk Cousins, than a Joe Flacco, or a lot of these other guys we've talked about as bridge quarterbacks. And then finally, the element that I mentioned was, can he be a good mentor for the young player? Apparently he and Justin Fields had a great relationship. By all accounts, he's a good teammate. So I think, and I'm not really sure why we haven't talked about it, I actually think Russell Wilson is the perfect fit. And I think I'm in the minority on this. I don't know about you guys, but from other reaction I've seen online, I think he's a perfect fit for the Browns, and I hope they sign him. Go ahead, guys.
Go ahead, Tyvis.
Yeah. For me personally, I mean, I would take him over Kirk Cousins any day of the week.
100%.
And twice on Sundays.
Yeah.
First of all, and I know I hate Russell.
I didn't say that.
I know you like to float this narrative that I hate Russell. I don't hate Russell.
Okay.
Honestly, I think what the Browns need, period, is a culture change. They need a guy that's going to come in that's won at the highest level, that's a great leader that can inspire change. Because if you bring somebody in there that isn't that or doesn't have those accolades, they can fall into the narrative, well, it's the same old stuff. You know, as we did this last year, it's the same. Like, that can really creep up a lot of people's minds. If things go well, like say they took a Russell and things started going sour next year or this upcoming season, Russell will be the one to stop it and like, this ain't last year. We're not doing that. You know, he's a very positive person. You know, you never see Russell be negative at all. He's always, we be down 35-0 at halftime. He said, we gonna come back. Don't worry. Keep fighting. We coming back. Like, that's the type of guy that he is. So I think the Browns need that type of leadership in the building, not just on offense, but in that entire team. I think he brings that. The only question I have is, and I think Earl put it out on Twitter, is how would Jerry Jeudy feel about this? You know, obviously, because I thought them trading for DK, like DK would be like, oh, I'm back with Russell. Yeah. Because he had some really productive years with Russell. Right. With Jeudy, there's the numbers right there. The numbers, they look pretty good. I mean, I know things didn't go well when he was.
It's over 2 seasons, though, Tyvis.
So 27 games.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought this was 1 year. Excuse me.
27 games.
What's 1425 divided by 27?
Well, that's a 14 per yards an average, I'll tell you that.
I'm going to do that math.
I think that's the question, though. How would Jeudy
It's 53 yards a game.
How would Jeudy feel about having, because Jeudy will be here longer than Russell will be. Yeah. And Judy's the one that's got to deal with this. And obviously, you know, things didn't go well in Denver. It was a disaster in Denver with Russell there. My thing is, if you want Russell to succeed, you have to have a really good run game. Even when he was with Seattle, you know, I tell y'all all the times about how a lot of the vets on defense felt about Russell. You know, they felt that the defense was so good that it didn't matter what Russell did because the defense was that good. And like I say, if you go back and you look at some of them playoff stats, he didn't have the best games in the postseason, and they still somehow won it. So I will give the defense credit on that. But you got to have a really good run game, which is something that we lacked last year, which is something that they got to get back to. And you got to have receivers that can win a lot of 50-50 balls, which right now Jerry Jeudy's the only guy that can do those things. So I think if you go get Russell, there's other holes that you also need to fill for him to be successful. Because if you go out there and have him sling the pill 50 times a game, at some point it's not going to look well. Plus, we don't have the Johns and the Joes to do that consistently anyway. So, all in all, I say if they decided to get Russell, that's fine. I do think it could impact a little bit of what they do at 2, though. I know a lot of people think that it's a foregone conclusion that they take a quarterback at 2, but
I don't think it's
I feel like if they get Russell, they might get Travis Hunter in with the second number 2 pick, and then decide to get a quarterback in the second or third round. So it could impact that.
Travis Henry's old. We don't want him.
Yeah, Travis Henry got like 12 kids.
Yeah.
What you said is exactly what I think in terms of how you view the number 2 pick.
First of all, I don't want to be hated. I want to be loved.
There are a lot of people who don't like me. I'm okay with that. There are a lot of people who like me.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. But the fascinating part about this, I left the combine thinking they were going to take a quarterback. And this whole thing with Russ has me rethinking that, because I'll get to how I feel about Russ in a minute, but since you went there, I'll just pick up on that. Russ ain't coming here to be a backup.
No.
Russ is coming here to start.
Russ ain't being no backup, and he ain't being no bridge.
And the Browns, Jimmy ain't taking a quarterback at 2 to sit for a year.
Yeah.
So for the fact that they're even entertaining the idea of bringing Russ here tells me they're not probably going to take a quarterback at 2. And
that shouldn't be a factor, in my opinion. Because Russell Wilson's 36 years old.
But if the decision is made that we don't like Shador, we're not going to take a quarterback at 2.
I'm saying they shouldn't make the decision based on whether or not they add
I think they're
Wilson.
Making the decision based on what they like at 2. And
then that's fair.
Then you work out from there.
If they've decided that they don't like any of these quarterbacks, or Cam Ward's the only one they like and they're convinced he's going to the Titans, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett can be a backup. And you can bring in a guy at 2, and Kenny can start the first couple games, then bring him in or whatever. If you sign Russ, you're signing Russ to be your starter for the entire season. There is no we're going to bench him in week 8 and bring, that ain't going to fly. That ain't going to fly with Russ. That ain't going to fly. So for them to even be exploring this tells me now I'm rethinking the whole idea of a quarterback at 2. I don't think that's the route they're going to go. In terms of Russ, you're shopping in the scratch and dent aisle. Like you're looking over used cars with 100,000 miles on them. Do you want the one with no fenders, or do you want the one with the busted transmission? Yeah, that's really what you're looking at. And this shouldn't be a surprise. Like the thing that's a little bit surprising to me is Browns fans are like, every name that comes up, oh God, it's Kenny Pickett. Oh God, what did you expect?
Right, none of these guys are the answer.
We've been saying since December, this is the worst time to go looking for a quarterback. There's none in the draft, or maybe one, and there's none in free. Like, this is what you have to pick from, guys. Yeah. Like, which high-mileage car do you want? Because there's no other great options. Personally, I don't like Russ because I'm scared off by the fact that, like, Denver took the biggest cap hit in history to say, enough, we don't want him. Get him out of here. The Steelers moved on from him.
It worked.
The Steelers moved on from him. Like, the Steelers don't want him back. They could re-sign him right now. They don't want him back.
I told you what the biggest issue with Russ, and tell me when y'all see that I'm wrong, y'all tell me that I'm wrong. Russell will give you, if it's 17 games, Russell will give you 8 really good games. And then the last 9, it just completely
falls apart.
Exactly what happened last year in Pittsburgh. Like, he literally was good, and then he just fell apart at the end.
That's better than these other guys are going to give you.
But is it? Because what are you trying to accomplish? Honestly, like, you guys may kill me for this. I'd rather start Kenny Pickett than Russ Wilson.
Why, you want them to lose?
No. He's 26. Russ is 36. What are you gaining by playing Russ? What are you gaining?
Well, what's your goal? Is your goal to win as many games as possible?
Well, if you do that, now you've taken yourself out of position to go get a quarterback next year.
So we need to just go ahead and just stink this year so we can get a quarterback next year.
Since December.
But consistent.
The problem is
teams don't want to lose on purpose.
But no, listen.
The problem is, do you think that they're secure past this year?
No, that's where all the motives aren't aligning here. And this is why
that's what I'm saying.
But okay, so Russ goes out and wins you 9 games.
Yeah.
Now what? Now he's 37. You still don't have a quarterback, and now you're not in position to get that. Kenny Pickett is 26. Is he the answer? No, probably not. But he's 26 and on a rookie contract. Play him, and if you run into something, okay, great. And if you don't, now you're in position. It was the same reason that I gave for DTR. Play DTR to find out what you have. You found out what you had. Nothing. But guess what? It got you the number 2 pick in the draft. So play Pickett. Like, I don't understand the idea of
what
are you chasing?
They might not be here if they play Pickett. That's the problem,
right?
Like, if Jimmy came out and told Kevin and AB, you know what, y'all are secure. No matter what happens this season, y'all are secure.
But you can't trust him.
Yeah, well,
you can't take him at his word.
Yeah, but
he's told people that before and fired him 2 weeks later.
So what do you want him to do, Jason?
I want him to play Kenny Pickett right now.
No,
right now, where it stands right now.
I'm not about to get fired for this.
Go ahead, real quick, Mike.
Well, I just got one thing on Russ because Ty, you played with him. We watched him last year.
Great guy.
And
great guy.
Jason and Bull, you guys are, for the most part, been Stefanski offensive on his side. I'll call you defenders for the example.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
When I look at what Russ Wilson did last year, what he's done the last couple of seasons, he still throws a great deep ball. Mm-hmm. He's a shorter quarterback and likes to play out of shotgun. And although he's decent at play action, all the numbers show he's decent at play action, a lot of it comes from the shotgun. That doesn't necessarily fit with Kevin Stefanski's concepts of saying, I want to go back to my offense, under center play action, where they don't take a ton of deep shots regardless. So and Russ doesn't throw to the middle of the field, which is where Stefanski likes to operate a lot of his routes. I'm just not sure from a pure stylistic standpoint, take the draft out of it, if Russ can execute the stuff that Kevin theoretically wants to execute.
I don't know. It's not.
Am I reaching on that?
I think he can.
I think because I think when they was in Seattle, they operated under center with Bevel. I mean, they did some shotgun stuff, which Kevin does shotgun stuff as well.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of the stuff is under center, so I think he has experience with doing those things. As far as the over the middle, listen, at the end of the day, Russell's seen a lot of football. He understands defense, and he don't turn the ball over. You've heard them come out multiple times and say we decision making is what we want.
Yep.
Check. He doesn't turn the check.
I just think he can't go.
This is the same guy that
we got to suck this year for a quarterback.
I'm not saying every season. I'm saying one season.
No.
And I'm not saying you have to suck. I'm saying play the guy who it might is Kenny Pickett the future. But maybe there's someone else out there. I actually talked to a coach who loved Daniel Jones, who thought that the Browns felt like the Giants mismanaged Jones, and Jones there was something there. I'm just telling you. I was an NFL coach. I was talking to the combine.
The Giants should trade for Anthony Richardson. My hot take.
Why can't the Browns trade for Anthony?
No. Because, see, Brian Daboll has got Josh Allen right. So he knows how to work with quarterbacks like that, in that ilk. So, like, he would be fine.
I don't see the upside.
That has nothing to do with the Browns.
I just don't see the upside of playing Russell Wilson.
The upside is he gives you the best chance to win as many games as possible.
Okay, great.
And that may be what the team wants to do.
And then what are you going to do next year?
Next year, you're going to start over again.
But
I hear
isn't there more options?
But Jason, if you finish with the sixth pick in the draft, you're still not going to get the quarterback you want. So the only way to get the quarterback you want, I don't know how many great quarterbacks there are.
Why not at 6? You could absolutely get a quarterback at 6 next year.
How many quarterbacks are there going to be? We don't even know.
We don't know.
It's going to be like, you talking about like first round worthy?
How
like
often?
4 or 5.
How often? Think now it changes.
It does change because some of them fall on their face.
But how often do you have years like this year, this draft,
where
everybody who follows this stuff says, oh, this is a terrible quarterback. How often does that happen?
Not that often, but
once every 10 years.
Also, there's not a lot of years where there's more than 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that people really like.
I agree. Like
last year was the anomaly also.
NIL has changed the landscape of how long these guys can stay. So I agree. It's hard to say who's going to come out and who's going to go back because they can make money now in college. I'm just saying, it's not a great position to be in. Like, this is a terrible spot to be in for the Browns.
Yes.
This is a horrible year to go and try and find a quarterback. I just don't see the upside in playing a 36-year-old who every other team that he's played for couldn't wait to get rid of him. His arm is shot.
I think
his arm is shot.
I think his arm is shot.
Kirk Cousins' arm is shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, his is gone. I think that what it is ultimately, I think the organization feels guilty for last year. So I think for once they're saying to themselves, we got to give our guys the best chance to win games this year. And I think if you look at it from that standpoint, because they owe it to them. You seen what happened last year, how they chose, I ain't going to beat that dead
Fans
horse.
want to win games. And
of course they do.
To the detriment of maybe the long-term health of the team.
But that's what a healthy team is focused on is where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish, and where are we going? Russ Wilson accomplishes nothing in the short term. Nothing. Well, short term or long term.
Well,
he's going to win you a couple games.
Right. The Browns will win more games starting Russell Wilson than Kenny Pickett.
Yes. How many? Yeah, probably right.
How many more?
1, 2,
maybe 2 or 3.
I don't think.
What's
3.
the Browns? Is the Browns schedule like that next year?
I don't even remember.
They got a 4th place schedule.
Well, but that's overrated though, because it's only 3 games that are different.
Well, that's a pretty big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah, but
3 out of 17.
I actually think they have a harder schedule than the Bengals, who finished 3rd because of some weird teams. I think the Browns' schedule is pretty tough.
Here's who they play next year. I got it right here.
Well, who are the 3? Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, at home.
Yeah.
They have
Forget
9
the division.
home games.
Just give us
9
the
home
other.
games next year. Buffalo, Green Bay, Miami, Minnesota, San Francisco, Tennessee, and then the 3 division games.
Yeah, they need Russell.
That's
on the road, they have Chicago, Detroit, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Jets, and the 3 division games.
How many games do they win with Kenny Pickett? 6?
I don't think so.
Less than 6?
Yeah.
I think they can win 6. And what are you going to win with Russ? 9? So
no, I don't think so either.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
You know what, though? Okay. So you start Kenny Pickett.
Then listen, I'm not a Kenny Pickett defender.
I understand. I understand that.
I'm just saying
that's what thinks he can be the next Sam Darnold.
Wait. Yeah.
So I texted a coach when I got back from Europe. I texted an NFL coach who knows Pickett really well. It's like, what do you think? No skin in the game, no dog in the fight, just like unbiased opinion. He's like, I don't see it. Said lacks confidence, which is the worst thing you could say about a quarterback.
Oh my goodness.
Arm strength is so. Like, I don't see it.
No athletic ability. Or not top-end athletic ability.
So the confidence thing, I was like, well, that's the worst thing you could say about a quarterback. I think we talked about on the show. I talked to Mike Martz a couple weeks ago for a story I was working on.
Yeah.
And Mike back said, like, give me the guy who thinks he can throw it through the keyhole, and I can work with that. I can rein him in. If you give me somebody who doesn't believe in himself, there's nothing I can do with that.
Yeah.
So did Pickett just get broken by the end in Pittsburgh, and is that something Kevin could rebuild? I don't know. But
That's how I feel about Danny Dimes.
Certainly, it was not a glowing endorsement that I got on.
So let me ask you this: you're in the camp of starting Kenny Pickett
right now.
Yeah.
Given the options they have right now.
That's fine.
Yeah.
what you doing at 2? Does it change what you do at 2?
You can have Kenny Pickett, you can draft a quarterback at 2.
So you would if you was running the team, you start Kenny Pickett but take a quarterback at 2.
If they like Shador,
But they're not letting Russell Wilson determine whether or not they draft a quarterback.
You start with who you like in the
Yes,
draft and
right.
then work out from there.
Yes.
If you're right about Russell Wilson, that means they're not going to draft a quarterback at 2. I hadn't gone that far.
I feel like
let's say you're right about that.
I feel like
that
you can't
means they
take a
don't like
quarterback at 2.
they either don't like the quarterbacks or they think they got no chance of Cam.
No, I think is if they sign Russell Wilson, I think that they think all these quarterbacks outside of maybe Cam Ward need to sit a year.
Yes.
So if that's the case, it doesn't matter if we get Shador at number 2 because he's not going to be ready to play this year. So we might as well not even get him. Get somebody that can come in and contribute this year. Take a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round because they all going to have to sit anyway.
I think Russ is your starter,
is.
Kenny's your backup, and whoever you draft in the 2nd round or later is your 3rd quarterback.
I think they got to. I mean, if they don't take a quarterback at 2, I think they got to take Travis Hunter. You got to.
Abdul or Travis.
I don't want Abdul. I don't want a defensive line.
I'd put Myles on one side and Abdul Carter on the other.
Abdul or Travis.
Give me a special.
Listen,
give me a player that's going to score points.
At the end of the day, it boils down to 4 names. At 2, it's only 4 options: Cam, Shador, Travis, Abdul. That's it.
I'll take
any other name, it's going to be a problem.
I'll take the special unicorn that could put up big points rather than a defensive lineman that did it for 1 year.
I wouldn't hate it.
I take you talking about you take Travis Hunter over Abdul Carter
Every day of the week.
I would too.
Yeah.
Because on top of that, I tell MJ, you keep messing around if you want to. Sorry, Earl. You mess around if you want to.
Yeah. Plus, Abdul
we
Carter,
got your replacement
Abdul
right
Carter
here.
did it for 1 year and has got a foot issue. No thanks.
If it doesn't affect the pro,
I'd be happy with either one of them.
Yeah.
We're going to get to Jason's article after we talk about the Browns' latest signing. If you want any more Browns content, not in the 2-hour UCSS time frame, G. Bush does a weekly Ultimate Brown show. This week he talked about the Pickett trade, the signing of JTS, the Browns' free agency plans. It is on our YouTube page. Make sure you go check it out. Just find the Ultimate Browns playlist, and you can see all of G's latest episodes. The Browns cut Dalvin Tomlinson. To replace him, they signed Malik Collins, a defensive tackle who's put up 5 sacks each of the last 2 seasons. Jason will spend a minute or 2 on this, but he's older. The advanced analytics look pretty good on him. Is he a replacement, an upgrade, a wash, I guess, to Dalvin Tomlinson in terms of the Browns' defensive tackle rotation next season?
I think Tyvis is a better place to start than me. He's played defense, but it looks like a wash to me. I mean, it's
At best,
swapping
it's a
guys
wash.
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's cheaper.
I've actually had some experience with Malik Collins because I played for Dallas in 2019 for the preseason. Now, obviously, I was with the 3s. He was with the 1s. But I promise you, I think he was the one that broke Lamar Miller's leg in that preseason game against Houston. Like, the dude actually, he's really good with his hands and all those things. So, you know, I don't. He's aggressive. You see, he got some anger to him, and that's what I like. He don't wear no gloves. He do the finger tape thing, and I was like, yeah, this dude is nice. So I think that you just need another motor. I think that's what it is. I think he's got a pretty good motor for his age, and you pair him with the Mike Hall. You know, I think he wanted more pass rushing in there, and he brings that. Obviously, you see the spin moves and all these things that he's got. He's got a bag of tricks. So also you help him Mike Hall because he's going to be able to teach him some things. They're probably around the same size as far as height and all those things goes as well. So I think you got a good mentor in there. And I think he could be effective in there for sure. I mean, I think that he'll have opportunities to bring a pass rush down the middle, and you got 2 D tackles now that can be a pass rush, which is going to help Myles out as well. So I think that what it looks like to me is they're trying to get their D-line to be productive again. They're trying to, because they understand that they're putting their DBs out there on the island for too long and they're not getting home. So I think they went out and got guys that can get to the quarterback.
I mean, I think it's a perfectly fine move. I mean,
hey,
like every other move,
the Browns
this
ain't like a Ndamukong Suh or something.
Yeah, like every other move the Browns have made this offseason, it's not a needle mover. It's not a difference maker. Another fine player. I mean, you put him in for Tomlinson. He's, a similar type of player. Maybe he's a little bit better of a pass rusher.
He's a better pass rusher.
For sure.
It doesn't really matter. It's a perfectly fine move.
Yeah, he grades much higher in terms of pass rush than run stop. So
yeah.
just something to throw out there.
The Browns have made the kind of moves we thought they would. They've got some, decent players at the shallow end of the pool.
I mean, what did people think they was going to do?
Right, it wasn't going to be a monster.
We got $19. So what are we going to do with that?
Well, and not to mention, there was nobody worth spending big money on here.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
The only guys that seem to be getting big money are the guards, and the Browns didn't need a guard.
And tackles, offensive tackles.
I guess, but what offensive? These guys are getting overpaid because there's no free agency.
Dan Moore got $50 million guaranteed, and he's not that good.
He's not that good.
Didn't he record the worst PFF grade in history?
Yes.
Yeah, Myles Garrett kills him.
What was it, 8?
He got
9.3.
I missed that. He got $50 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
82 total,
Titans.
50 guaranteed.
Insane.
Wow.
The Titans have been spending like crazy.
They got money.
They're still gonna.
They say it ain't tricking if you got it.
Anyway, I mean, all these moves, it's just nothing's overly exciting. Move the needle. If the Browns are going to go, let's say the Browns are going to go with Russell Wilson and try to get their quarterback in the future, either later in the draft or next year.
Will Howard, as Jay Crawford would say.
Yeah. Who was just saying? Dustin spoke to somebody with the Buckeyes organization.
Mm-hmm.
Go Bucks.
About Will Howard. And asked him, hey, what do you think he's going to be at the next level? And he said he's going to be like a game manager type.
Yeah. Yeah.
Decent player, but not the high end.
I could see him spending 10 years in the NFL as a backup.
Yeah, or maybe like one of these lower tier starters that you're always Andy Dalton's that you're like he's good, but
yeah, I think he could have a long career in the NFL holding a clipboard.
Yeah, well, we're not going to draft him in the first round.
I hope that ain't the case.
Real quick, before we get to Jason's article, here would be my game plan if you're going to go with Russell Wilson and you're not going to take a quarterback at 2.
Okay.
What I would do is I'd draft Travis Hunter at 2. Okay, I'd bring in Keenan Allen as a veteran wide receiver, and now you have a decent wide receiver core for Russell Wilson this year. Then I would draft a running back either the second or third round because you need that bell cow back. I'd draft a tight end. Apparently, it's a very deep draft in tight ends and running backs.
Everybody
so
want that guy from Bowling Green.
And then when you get your young quarterback later or you get your young quarterback next year, that quarterback would come into a decent situation with some good young receivers, potentially a really good running back, a real bell cow back. Maybe you got 2 tight ends. It could be a situation that in the next year or two, if they can find the right quarterback, and I know that's tougher if you win more games than Russ, I get it. They're going to make it tricky. But maybe the quarterback's able to come into a decent situation.
They have to draft a quarterback. You have to draft a quarterback.
Right, but I'm saying, if you draft somebody second, third
hopefully
round.
not in the 5th round.
Right.
They're going to take Dylan Gabriel in the 5th round.
If you're drafting, Jackson Dart or the kid from Alabama.
Jalen Milroe? It'll be exciting.
Sit him the whole year. Let him learn under Russell Wilson.
Well, this is Cleveland. 3 quarterbacks play almost every year.
Right.
He'll play
but that's the thing with Russ is he's left.
It's
true. But Russ is the most durable quarterback they've had.
He is.
Or if they do sign him.
Last point on Collins, then we'll get to Jason's article. On 3rd down and long, they Browns now in theory could put out a defensive line when Mike Hall comes back healthy of Myles Garrett, Malik Collins, who's a pretty good pass rusher, Mike Hall, who showed some pass rushing upside, and then whoever they like the most out of Alex Wright, McGuire, Ogbo, or JTS, who they signed yesterday. And on paper, that's a pretty good pass rushing front 4 to get to the quarterback.
I don't think that's quite as good as you think that is.
Didn't Ogbo get hurt last year? And he played
at the end of the season,
with a messed up shoulder or something? No. Ogbo he got to come with it.
It's Myles Garrett and a bunch of guys, as it always has.
Ogbo got to come with it this year.
Yeah.
He got to come with it.
You can change that.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett and a bunch of guys, you could change that.
Abdul Carter.
Speaking of Myles Garrett, speaking of number 95, we're going to talk about Jason's article on him in 1 second. But first, UCSS has a new sponsor.
Good.
Monarch Money. We are thrilled to welcome Monarch Money to the UCSS team. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. But now, because of Monarch Money, I budget smarter and I'm saving way more than I thought was possible. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. If you use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com, you get 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Jason, you were in Europe last week when the Myles Garrett news of an extension broke. And yesterday, you wrote an article. It was published today in The Athletic, and it detailed some of the things that you thought on the Myles Garrett extension. I want to first just give you the floor to give the brief overview of the article. Then I picked two little snippets from the article I think is worth expanding on. So, Jason, the floor is yours to give people a little primer on why you think giving Myles that extension was a mistake.
Well, I mentioned in the open that I just sent out a tweet as we were walking in the Eiffel Tower about this is how Jimmy Haslam problem solves, just throws money at it.
Tell him to throw it my way.
And, I saw a lot of the reaction was, I can't believe you're killing an owner for spending money. That's what you want an owner to do. Yes, of course, it's what you want an owner to do, but it takes more to win than just throw money at your problems. And really, I wrote what I said on the show before I left for Europe was Jimmy learned nothing from the Deshaun disaster. And I understood, I defended the Deshaun move. You got to get a quarterback. You got to find a quarterback. And they did whatever they had to do to try and get him. But they tried to buy him. Deshaun told them no. And Jimmy wouldn't take no for an answer. So he just kept adding zeros to the check. And Deshaun was like, well, all right. I guess I'm coming to Cleveland. And now Myles made very clear he wants to win. And I've said on the show, he was going to sit down with me 2 years ago and lay out how unhappy he was. And at the last minute sort of walked that back. And chose not to do it. And so I know this wasn't a negotiation tactic. He truly wants to win and has been unhappy with the direction of the Browns. But they threw enough zeros at him to make him say, well, all right, $40 billion a year, as you said, Tyvis, $40 billion a year is hard to turn down. It's hard to walk away from that bag. But what are you really buying here? Because the desire to win isn't going to go away. And no matter how many checks you cash, it's not going to change if he truly wants to be here or not. And I just think that you need to, when somebody tells you who they are, listen to them. And the Browns refuse to do that. They're just going to keep throwing money at these guys. And you can't, the Browns have spent over $1 billion in cash the last 4 years on their roster. How many playoff wins do they have for $1 billion? Zero. So don't tell me that it's all about spending. It's not. There's a lot more to building an NFL team, to building a franchise, to building a culture than just throwing money at guys. Yes, spending is important, of course. Of course it's important. And in the right circumstance with the right culture, Jimmy's checkbook should be the best weapon in the NFL because there's not many owners who will do it this way. But it takes more than that. And we have all the evidence we need to see that. So I don't know why this is so controversial of a take to have, that I think they should have traded him. Not because he requested a trade, because it was the best interest of the franchise. The intersection of where this franchise is right now, of everything we've talked about this morning up until this point, where he's at in his career, trade him. Get what you can for him. It'll be a lot. Is it going to be 3 firsts? No. Is it going to be 2? Maybe. But you're at least going to get 1, you're going to get a 2, and you're going to get whatever else. So that, again, next year, when you're not shopping in the scratch and dent aisle and you're picking between a car with 300,000 miles on it and a car with a blown muffler, you can actually go out and try yet again to solve the quarterback search. But I just don't understand this idea of what are you trying to accomplish here? And it goes back to the Russell Wilson conversation. Are you really just trying to win 8 or 9 games and scrape into the playoffs so you can lose in the first round? Okay, I guess you can do that, but I don't know how that's furthering this franchise into a healthier spot. It's not. It's just living in this moratorium area of purgatory. So I think they should have traded him. I said that, wrote that in December. I thought they should have traded him. He had no leverage in this. None. They controlled him for 4 years. He had no leverage, and yet they still gave him a no trade clause. How's that happen? Now he has all the power. Now he has all the leverage because he's got a no trade. You went from having all of the control to none of the control, like that. It's kind of amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, that is crazy that they gave him a no trade clause. That part is kind of nuts.
My thing, I think with the extension, he's probably going to play here, so they won't need the no trade. It wouldn't matter about the no trade.
Well, they can't trade him anyway because he's making $40 million at 32 years old, 33 years old.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to trade that contract anyway.
I agree
but
with
it's
you.
the concept behind it that just blows my mind.
I think, listen, everybody labels me as a Browns apologist.
That's all right. They blame me as a hater.
They call me a Browns apologist on this show, and that's not the case. Honestly, the way I look at it is I know they didn't. I know they never took calls on Myles to begin with. So they don't know what they would have got for Myles because they didn't even entertain the thing, which I believe they should have. Because I was with you. I said they should probably trade Myles Garrett. They decided not to. I think when you give him that contract, to me, it screams to me that they feel, especially with some of the moves that they've made, they feel like if they get their defense back to what it was, which I know how you feel, like you think that 2 years ago was a fluke.
Yeah.
It could have been. Mm-hmm. But I think that they hanging their hat on the fact that if we get that defense to what it was 2 years ago, we can at least be a competent team in this league because defense still wins championships.
Not really.
Anyway, he said, so I think the reason that they kept Myles is they have to fix the culture. And the reason why I'm against your whole we need to start Kenny Pickett and then lose and just not be good.
Maybe not lose.
Whatever. But like you saying if you want to get a good quarterback, you got to be not good anyways. I think in their mind, you have to kill that culture because that's where it's at. That's the problem now.
I do agree with
that. Is that people's culture, they're so accustomed to lose. Losing is not the worst thing that happens to people. Getting used to losing is the worst thing that happens to people. And that is what happened last year. And that's why it just looked the way it looked. So I think you have to dead that entire culture and get a winning mentality and a winning culture back in there. Because when they were winning games, Sundays was a lot different. It didn't matter who they put in there. They was going in there to win the game. And that was not the case last year because they got used to just losing these games. And maybe the coaching staff enabled it a little bit because of the fact that they didn't point out Deshaun's flaws. They said nothing negative to Deshaun in film rooms and all of those things. So it was like, oh, y'all enabling this, so what the heck? What's the point? They have to get that trust back between the players and the coaches, and they got to find guys in there that's one, that know how to win and that want to win. That's the three things that this team is missing right now. And Myles, you can say whatever you want. People say Myles is lazy. People say Myles is not a leader. People say Myles have terrible practice habits. He's late to meetings, as you will point out. One thing you cannot deny, Myles wants to win games. On Sunday, that man goes ball to the wall.
Yep.
So he has the winning culture on Sundays, which is where it matters the most, and he really wants to win. So I think the reason they felt comfortable giving him that contract is because they know at the worst case scenario, this guy's still going to show up on Sundays and he's still going to want to win these games.
So a couple of things to unpack based on what you guys said there before we jump into some specific quotes. There's two different things going on here. There's the whole thought about Jimmy Haslam as an owner, and then there's specific to the Myles Garrett situation. In terms of the thoughts about Jimmy being an owner, there's always the fan base, fans generally only pay attention to the money they spend, or maybe their hiring and firing practices. As we know, there's way more to it in being an owner. Jimmy Haslam is like what's his name? Lonzo Ball. Is it Lonzo Ball? Who's the good ball brother that puts up the big stats?
LaMelo.
He's LaMelo Ball, right? He puts up all these sexy stats. He spends a lot of money. But he doesn't – there's no winning there. There's no winning. LaMelo Ball's not a winner. He's a loser who puts up big stats, doesn't care about winning. And that's –
I wouldn't call him a loser.
So to a percentage of the fan base, Jimmy – when we say Jimmy's a terrible owner, if you ask people behind the scenes – and, there's stuff we know, especially, I know you know, whatever, that, you hear about Jimmy, that he's just an awful manager, he's an awful owner. But fans don't see that stuff and really don't care about a lot of that stuff. All they see is, are they willing to spend?
Yep.
I know as a fan of the Bengals, I'm beyond frustrated in Mike Brown's unwillingness to spend on his best players.
He ain't got it.
So, that's bullshit. He's got it. So when they spend money on their best player, fans are going to look at that as a win. And I get it. It's hard to kill a team for paying their best player a ton of money, right? But there's more to it. It's a nuanced argument. So Jimmy, we're going to always look at Jimmy as a terrible owner. Or at least you and I think are. I'm always going to look at him as a terrible owner until he proves otherwise. For a lot of fans, the fact that he's willing to spend no matter what, which is the one positive about his ownership,
yes,
that overrides everything else, all the losing. They feel like he's trying his best. He's committed to spending whatever it takes, and that's all they care about. And you can't convince the people that feel that way otherwise, so it doesn't. So I'm not even going to try. In terms of the Myles Garrett stuff, yes, I think much like with Russell Wilson versus what else you're going to do at quarterback, for the long-term health of the organization, they probably were better off trading Myles Garrett. But it's so hard for teams, especially where a coach and a GM maybe have their jobs on the line, to say, let's trade our best player for draft picks.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, even though that could potentially turn the franchise around.
You don't want to be the guy that traded away Myles Garrett.
But do you agree? This was not an Andrew Berry decision on what to do with Myles Garrett. This was a Jimmy Haslam. The owner of the team decides if the best player on in the franchise stays or goes.
That's
Andrew
right.
Berry is carrying out the wishes of ownership.
That's true.
Andrew Berry is not standing up at the podium saying we are not trading Myles because Andrew Berry believes. Maybe he does.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he doesn't. But he's the press secretary at that point, carrying out the mission of the president. And the president in this case is Jimmy Haslam saying we're not trading. Like, Jimmy's the one making that decision. And I also want to point out, I put this in the article.
Yeah.
I actually think Jimmy, up until the deal, handled the negotiation perfectly. Like, when Myles comes to him and says, I want to meet with you, and he says, go talk to Andrew. That's exactly what he should do.
That was the right thing to do,
That's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
And, it's like, oh, my God, he's getting it. He's learning. But then what does Myles people do? Myles people leak it and say, look at that. That man won't even meet with the best player on the team.
Yeah.
And it somehow gets framed as if he did something wrong.
Right.
And within days, Myles has a new contract, no trade clause, and a $40 million. It's like even when he does the right thing, he still can't get it over the finish line because it now is framed publicly that he did something. He didn't do anything wrong by telling Myles.
He did nothing wrong.
He did exactly.
And there were a lot of fans that thought he did something wrong.
No.
We're always telling Jimmy to stay out of it.
He said, what he said was, we have one voice speaking on this, and it's Andrew.
Yeah.
Go talk to Andrew.
That's it.
That's exactly what he should have done.
Right.
But because he got embarrassed by it, and because the way that it was framed.
He should have.
And Myles, as you said, Myles had zero leverage.
None.
I was hearing some media members saying Myles Garrett had leverage. I didn't understand what they were talking about.
If he wants to retire and go,
that was his only option.
Go scrape for dinosaur bones. That's his leverage.
That was it.
He had no leverage
unless he was willing to sit out until he got traded.
Well, he didn't even threaten retirement. Trey Hendrickson threatened retirement. He didn't even threaten retirement.
Myles went from no leverage to $40 million, richest contract for a non-quarterback, and the no trade blows my mind. It blows my mind.
So, Jason, from the article, I pulled out two little tidbits that were making their rounds on social media, two things that I thought kind of stood out in particular that I wanted you to get a chance to expand on more if you need the choice to or want to, and then we could talk about it as well. But this first one comes on maybe some of the hesitation as to why the Browns should have rewarded Myles with that record-setting extension. Steve, you take this. Well, this is from Jason's column in The Athletic this morning. Quote, it's well known within the Browns that Garrett is frequently late to the facility. He has skipped mandatory team activities on multiple occasions. Veterans typically police their locker room on those types of things and create the culture of accountability. But here, it's the best player breaking the rules. That has to change now. Elite performers earn more forgiveness than anyone. That's true in any business, but there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with a contract of this magnitude, end quote.
So, Myles Garrett, we've known this about Myles Garrett for a while. Myles Garrett says he wants to win, which I think he does, but he has never shown the full commitment to winning here as a Brown. If you're doing these things, and he's not going to change, why would he change at this point? Just because he got paid more money.
If anything, it probably just entitles him more, which is what I wrote. I hope doesn't happen. I hope that there's a sense of responsibility that comes with this, not a sense of entitlement. I mean, I kind of went easy on him compared to what I could have written about that stuff and what we know, what I know. But I didn't want to turn this into a smear Myles. I truly did not want to do that. He's a phenomenal talent. He's a great player. He's a generational player. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He could be the all-time sack leader by the time he's done. So I don't want to make it look like I'm going after his character because I'm not. I'm just pointing out the reality here that, I don't know why in the media it's so hard for people to just be honest sometimes. We're just having an honest conversation. Like, this is what's going on. He's been late frequently is an understatement. He's blowing off mandatory report dates where he's supposed to be in the facility and he blew it off. Like, you can't. And I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think I alluded to this a little bit on the show, and I didn't put this in the piece. but not everyone is born to be a great leader. Can we agree on that?
Of course.
And just because you are the most talented player on the team doesn't mean you're a great leader. And I just wonder if Myles has ever been in a culture where he has learned how to lead. He went to Texas A&M. He didn't go to Ohio State. He didn't go to Alabama and play for Nick Saban. He went to Texas A&M.
Oh, what's wrong with that?
How many great players have come out of Texas A&M?
A lot.
Elite generational.
Von Miller.
Okay. Who else?
Michael Bennett.
It's Mike Evans, Myles Garrett, and Von Miller, the three most recent success
Would you
stories in the
agree most pedigree top NFL players don't go to Texas A&M? Would you agree with that?
As an A&M fan, Jason's correct.
So, and it's not to say that you can't be. I'm just saying, who at that program showed him how to lead? Or was he just the biggest, strongest, fastest kid out there?
Right.
They weren't particularly good when.
Nobody said they weren't good when he was there.
And when he came to the Browns, they didn't win a game. Who with the Browns has taught him how to be
Joe Thomas,
a leader? Joe's on the other side of the ball.
Are you talking about on the defensive side?
Anywhere. I mean, Joe could count, yes. But
Myles is not a leader. He's just not.
But and here's the point I'm trying to make. I'll go back, and again, I'll go back to when LeBron was here the first time. LeBron was a terrible leader. LeBron was a kid. He was 18 years old when he got here. He didn't know how to lead. And anyone who was around that team will tell you that. LeBron went to Miami, and Pat Riley showed him how to do it. Pat Riley showed Dwayne Wade how to do it, who showed LeBron how to do it. Udonis Haslem was there doing it, and LeBron saw how to do it. LeBron came back a completely different person to Cleveland the second time than he was when he left because he didn't know how to do it. And he basically has admitted that. That's why he went to Miami, was to learn how to do it. Who's taught Myles how to do it? Nobody. So I'm not trying to absolve him of this. I'm just trying to point out that, like, I don't think it comes naturally to him in a lot of ways. I think he's a little bit impressionable with some of the decisions that he's made. And I don't think that was Jadeveon Clowney going to show him how? No,
but I do remember Zadarius Smith getting on him in like OTAs and stuff. Remember it was like a clip where he was like they was doing get-offs. They was like, let's do who got the best get-offs. And Myles like half-aided it, and he was like, no, get back down there, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I seen somebody actually, do that.
In year what? 7?
Well,
6,
I'm
7?
just pointing out.
But that's what I'm saying.
Just pointing out that it
And his
happened.
bad habits, and Myles' bad habits in terms of at meetings and stuff like that, that's going to, like the other players are going to, that's the example they're getting.
Wait a minute. His first DC was G-Dub. I was there.
Yeah.
G-Dub ain't play that. What's wrong with y'all?
Well,
G-Dub, listen.
Was he not doing these things then, and he's doing it now?
G-Dub had that. It was like military style. You ain't getting out of line with G-Dub. Is you crazy?
Well, what is he gonna do to Myles Garrett?
Man, Greg Williams is crazy. That man crazy. He one of them coaches that you don't even try. I'm not even gonna try to toe the line. That's he had it like that. Yeah.
Well,
I almost peed on myself because I was scared to get up to leave. No, I had to pee really bad. Like, you know how you get to the point where it's at the tip and it's about to come out?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was there.
Yeah.
But we was in defensive meeting. I wasn't about to get up in it, so I had to do one of these. Because I was so scared to get up and go use the bathroom.
Back teeth exploding.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
So you disagree with me then?
Now, I don't disagree with the fact that maybe he don't have the players on the defensive side of the ball because there wasn't a lot of defensive players. I mean, who's the other best defensive player? Joe Hayden?
I'm trying to think of what's his name. Who was that defensive tackle they had? They got him from the Jets. He was here.
I know who you mean.
He was good.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheldon Richardson.
Yes.
Sheldon Richardson, right.
Yeah.
I played with him with the Seahawks.
I've talked to, in fact, this came up at the Combine, where I was talking to guys at the Combine who said the veterans police that stuff. The veterans are the ones who handle that. If you're late, they're the one. But when the best player is the one who's doing it,
right? There's nobody policing him.
It's hard. It sets a culture that is not great.
Well, I will say, and through the rumors and through the things that I hear, it's a lot of the best players that don't do the best things. They don't practice the hardest. They don't show up on time.
So nothing's going to change the culture if that's the case.
That's the problem. It starts with a guy like Myles having to say, listen, you've put it out there that you want to win. But you also at some point you also got to look in the mirror on these things as well. Like you got to be able to ask yourself, am I doing everything that I'm supposed to do? Yes, on Sundays, absolutely. Nobody will ever take that away from Myles. To play with some of the injuries that he played with and still be effective as he is, to know that you're dealing with all these things as far as the offensive scheme goes and you still be a game record. Yes. But my question is, what are you doing to help the younger guys? Are you staying after practice, working on drills? Because what they did for me, and I was an undrafted guy in Seattle. They did that for me. Like, are you making an impact to help people change their game, or are you just watch what I do, but try to mimic what I do, but I'm not actually taking you step by step. And I just refuse to believe that he wouldn't do that. I don't think he would not do that.
And how many guys, even in the NFL, how many guys are physically gifted like him?
None. Zero.
Yeah.
So he might be able to get away with it. I was talking to Earl about this before the show. Isaiah McGuire can't get away with that.
Nobody can. Yeah.
So what example are you setting for the other guys in that room?
It's why sometimes the greatest players are not good coaches, because things come a little easier for them if they're so physically gifted. It's a little hard to teach. Most of your great managers and coaches were either mid-tier or lower-tier players.
I remember Byron Scott saying Magic Johnson could not coach. He was going to kill everybody in the locker room.
Yeah, right.
Because of exactly that.
Yeah. It makes it tricky.
I mean, it does. When you play with somebody that is talented, it is hard to do. They told me not to watch Earl Thomas when I was in Seattle because I couldn't do what Earl do, and they're 100% correct.
Yeah. One other thing to follow up something you said, if all the Browns leaders, best players, are not good leaders, there's got to be some blame on Kevin Stefanski.
I agree.
If all your best players are setting bad examples for their teammates, well, that's a Kevin Stefanski problem or an Andrew Berry problem. You're drafting the wrong guys if your best players are not good leaders. Now, Nick Chubb was a good leader.
Yes.
I mean, in terms, maybe not vocally, but he set a good example.
I think
100%.
I think where they failed at last year is that they believed the success 2 years ago with Joe Flacco. Like, I think what it was at that time when they went into that camp, the first time they went to Greenbrier.
Yeah.
Well, first time they went there, it was new, and you could just tell that they ran a very physical, different style of training camp. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they went there last year and they didn't do it to the same magnitude because of the success that they had, to where it was like, I know y'all got it. Y'all got these things now.
Which is crazy.
And I think that's where Kevin made the mistake. It was like, I ain't going to put my foot on y'all. I think all the coaches, I ain't going to put my foot on y'all because I know when y'all going to get it right.
That's
and all
terrible.
these things. And on top of that, it was a lot of injuries that a lot of guys didn't play together. Like they said, like the starting defense didn't play together, the offense didn't play. So that played a factor in it too. But it was a lot of things that I think that they gotta be healthy, one, but two, you gotta keep your foot on these players' necks. A lot of people think that it scares players off to where it's like, oh, you can't talk to me like that. That's not really the case. Players want to be good. They want to be great. And if you coaching them hard, that means that they know that you believe in them and they know that the magnitude of what this season is. So you have to coach these guys hard like that. And if you hurt their feelings, so what?
That's right.
Like, it ain't about your feelings, man. I'm here to get you better. That's just what it got to be.
And as a coach, if you're taking your foot off the gas because you had a good year that you lost,
you trust the guys. I trust y'all.
I think it was more that they overhauled the entire offense and it never worked.
Yeah,
I think it was more that than
that's
anything.
true.
Here's the other quote I pulled from the article before we bring on Mary Kay here in a few minutes. But this is in regards to Jimmy's spending. Jason, you mentioned they spent over $1 billion the last 4 years, yet to win a playoff game during that stretch. This was from Jason's column on that point of the article. Quote, I was having dinner at the Combine a couple of weeks ago with an assistant coach on what would be widely considered a successful NFL franchise. That coach told Jason, quote, if Jimmy Haslam spent 2 weeks with us, he'd throw up at the amount of money he wastes, end quote, the coach told me. His point was that while money is important, it takes a lot more than just throwing cash at head wounds to win in this league, end quote. Jason?
I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I mean, spending is really, really important, but it's not everything in pro sports. And you can look no further than Cleveland. The Dolans have created a tremendous culture. And have they won a championship? No, but they've had great success without spending, and we can kill them because they don't spend enough. And yes, they should spend more, but they've created the culture. The Browns are on the other end of it where they don't have the culture, but they have an owner that just keeps writing checks and keeps throwing them into the fire and throwing them into the fire. And the Cavs are in the middle where Dan will spend the money. But you know when this organization really took off as an organization is when he stepped back for health reasons and let the people run the franchise that are employed to do so. Because before it wasn't like that. And they won because Dan wrote the checks and because LeBron came back. And the timing just worked perfectly, and they were able to make the trade for Kevin, and off we go. Right. They didn't build a winning culture. They didn't. But they got LeBron to come back. They made a great trade for Kevin. And Kyrie they already had, and they won.
But now they've built
this
that
team has built the culture.
Yes.
It's no coincidence to me that this team has built that culture because ownership has been removed from the equation, and they've allowed the people, they've allowed Kobe and Ganzi and JB and now Kenny to actually operate and do their jobs.
Yeah.
And look what had Dan been Dan, Kobe would have been fired years ago. I don't think there's any question about that.
Right.
But because the way it's changed, now they actually have the perfect storm in Cleveland of they have a high-functioning front office that is making the right moves, that's running the organization, and they have an owner who's aggressive and willing to spend. So they've really sort of married the best of both worlds.
And Kobe's learned, right? He's a much better GM now than he was when he first took
for
over.
sure.
He traded Kyrie away.
But again, that's an ownership.
That wasn't his fault.
That's ownership.
But the Kevin Love contract and just some of the things he did early. And now he's done a much better job the last few years.
Their drafts, they've had really good drafts. Yeah. And again, we've said it on the show. How many times have I said, the longer you do something, the better you should get at it.
Yeah.
And he was in over his head. I think in a moment of truth, he would tell you he was in over his head when he first got the job. He went from third chair to being in charge of LeBron's last year in Cleveland. That was a horrible position to put him in.
Yeah.
But to his credit, he has learned from it. He has grown from it. And he's probably going to win Executive of the Year.
Why you don't give AB and Kevin those type of things? They were young when they took on this stuff.
Well, we're hoping they finally learn, especially Andrew Berry, who has not done a good job in the draft. Maybe in his sixth
It
draft,
all comes back. Everything we talked about, it all comes back down to the almighty draft.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you win in the NFL.
It is.
You know, what Washington's doing now is smart. They're a couple of pieces away from being a Super Bowl team.
They spinning because they ain't got no quarterback.
Teams like the Patriots and the Titans and the Bears going bananas in free agency is dumb. And it's not going to pay off for those teams.
Dang, why you think that?
Because bad teams going nuts in free agency is a waste.
Free agency should be used to fill your mistakes you make in the draft. It's a short-term temporary fix on guys you've missed in the draft or short-term holes until you can then draft somebody else to replace that guy. It's a short-term temporary fix. It's not a long-term solution.
Or a final piece on a good team.
There's always an exception to that. Yeah. But for the most part, that's how healthy teams view free agency.
The most big free agents end up being cut 2 years later. And we're like, why'd they pay that guy?
Who was the biggest free agent this year? Sam Darnold?
No, some of these. Sam Darnold. Probably. And then some of the offensive linemen. All right, let's bring in Mary Kay.
We got Mary Kay. We're going to bring in Mary Kay after a quick word from our new sponsor, Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where'd all my money go? It's happened to me. It happens to Ant every day.
In my life.
But between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is simple to lose track of your money. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center at the convenience of your phone. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So just stop managing your money and start building wealth with the help of Monarch Money. It's all in one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, Monarch combines it all, consolidates it into one app so you can check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL, just like you see on the screen, for half off your first year with Monarch Money.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot is with us now, Cleveland.com. Hi, Mary Kay. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
We're doing okay. We've been, dealing with a lot here, Browns related. We'll start with the Myles Garrett contract. I thought Jason made a really good point. Like, he had no leverage in that situation. They gave him a boatload of money. They gave him a no trade clause. I don't know. Jason brought up, why would you do that? I think it's a good point. What do you think about everything that's happened with Myles Garrett and eventually them giving him this massive extension?
Well, I think the about face came after Jimmy Haslam refused to take that meeting with him. And I think it was smart on Jimmy's part to do that. The team, they kind of locked arms and they showed solidarity. They presented this united front, and they basically sent a very strong message to Myles that we are not trading you. They were not messing around. And I think that he realized that it was going to have to get ugly if he was going to achieve whatever he was hoping to do. So there was a chance he was going to have to sit out a lot of games. The Browns were not going to flinch. They were not going to budge. He realized that, and then I think he thought the better of it and said, geez, maybe I should take the highest contract for a non-quarterback in the history of the NFL and go back and try to win some football games.
Mary Kay, I know you recently wrote an article about how, Nick Chubb is not coming back and his time in Cleveland has ended. Is there a world where he can go test the free agency, get a price, and the Browns match it and he comes back? I'm asking this on behalf of all the Browns fans who are upset about this.
There is a world in which he can come back. Once you hit free agency, the chances of you being gone are pretty good, but there is a world in which he can come back, and that is if they feel like they have a role for him. They, of course, don't want to bring Nick Chubb back on board and have him sitting around with nothing to do, getting no carries. That wouldn't be good for anyone. If he can find a team that is willing to use him in maybe even some kind of a support role, but can assure him that he's going to get some time and get some carries, then it might behoove him to go do that. I do think that they will draft a running back. This is such a deep class, and I think that they will pair that running back with Jerome Ford, and they will kind of move forward with what they're trying to do. But certainly there is a world in which Nick can come back if he doesn't find something better out there.
Is there any chance this was his decision, that he wanted to leave because obviously last year wasn't great? And, Myles has already come out and said he wanted to go, and we know how that turned out. But they cut his money last year coming off the injury, and then they take some money from him. Is there any world where he's like, you know what, I've had enough, and it's just time for me to explore my options?
I don't really think so. I believe Nick, when he said he wanted to be back here, he has said that as recently as very late in the season. I believe that this is a place that he would have wanted to finish his career, and that he's not one that would ask out or ask to be traded. I think he is very loyal to the Cleveland Browns, to the fans here. And so I do believe him when he says all of that.
So this was their decision. This was their decision to move on from him, not his decision to move on from them.
That's the way, yes, that's the way that I see it.
Mary Kay, the draft is exactly 6 weeks from today, right? 6 weeks?
That is correct.
I don't know why I doubted myself there for a second. 6 weeks from today. I believe Cam Ward will be drafted first overall by the Titans. Or even if it's not by the Titans, by somebody. But let's assume Cam Ward goes first overall. If you had to guess today, 6 weeks before the draft, who do you think the Browns would take at 2?
I am just not going to overthink this, because even though we're starting to hear all different kinds of things about, maybe they won't take a quarterback at number 2, I just think that if you have a shot at a quarterback who can do something for you in this league, someone that you can develop and try to get something out of at number 2, I just think you have to pull the trigger on that, and you have to go for it there. You're not going to be picking this high again anytime soon. At least you hope that you're not. And therefore, I would go and pick Shedeur Sanders at number 2, even if they're not 100% sure the way that this is going to work out. You can find a way to make it work, probably with supporting cast and those kinds of things. I just think that at this point, there are 2 quarterbacks that everybody's been talking about since day one in all of this. Don't let the pre-draft process influence you too much, and go ahead and try to get this thing done.
Mary Kay, you are always good when it comes to quarterbacks that's coming out in the draft. I think you are on record saying they should have took Josh Allen. So, one, have you done your research on these quarterbacks enough to be confident in which one you would take if all were available? And 2, I know Russell Wilson is in town today.
Tyvis, one question at a time.
Yeah, really?
Go ahead. Go at the first one.
All right, so the first question here that we're dealing with is, who would I take at number 2 if both Cam and Shedeur and all the quarterbacks were available? I am still doing my due diligence on these quarterbacks, which involves some film study, talking to people, analyzing it, meeting the players, talking to them, getting an idea of how they can be the face of the franchise. I already have some feelings on that. And at this point right now, if I had to make a pick between these two quarterbacks, I think I would pick Cam Ward just because of his sheer athletic ability and the talent that he shows. And I think he's got a lot of great leadership qualities as well. He's very different from Shedeur. He's not flashy. He's not showy. He's not legendary. He doesn't have that necessarily that star power or that charisma that some teams like. I think Shedeur is going to play well in the NFL, actually, with all of that. But I do think that Cam has just such incredible arm talent. He's a dual threat quarterback. I would be picking him. I think he's good enough that the Titans should definitely take him at number 1. I, at this point, don't think he's going to be available at number 2. I still would go with Shedeur. I think it's time to just pull the trigger on a quarterback, see if you can make it work. And maybe it won't be perfect, but at least I think it's worth a chance.
And if the Browns decided to sign Russell Wilson, who's in town today, would that change how you feel about what they do at 2?
No, I think you can look at it sort of what happened in Atlanta last year when they signed Kirk Cousins to a blockbuster deal, and then they went out and they drafted Michael Penix, number 8 overall. Russell Wilson has been with a lot of teams in the last several years, and for whatever reason, he doesn't last long wherever he's at lately. So I think you have to look at that. I think you have to look at why did he lose his last 5 games? Why did he sort of fall off the cliff a little bit in those last 5 games, including the wild card game? So that needs to be explored. That would not preclude me from taking Shedeur Sanders at number 2. No way, no how. I think you need maybe a quarterback for now, but certainly
Mason Rudolph going back to the Steelers. Yeah. Maybe he'll be their starting quarterback. Mary Kay, speaking of Russell Wilson, we talked about your report that he is going to be here, and I think he's supposed to go to the Giants tomorrow, I believe. So do you think there's a chance they're going to sign him today and he doesn't go to the Giants? Are they that interested?
If you really want him, and they are running out of options for that veteran bridge mentor quarterback, if you really want him, I think you try to keep him in the building. And I think it's a great opportunity for Myles Garrett to do exactly what his agent told me he wanted to do this week, and that was help lure free agents to Cleveland. Now's his opportunity. Get in there, Myles, and work your magic. If it were me, and if you like him that much, I wouldn't let him get out the door to go to the New York Giants. I would do everything that I can to keep him here, get him signed, get him under contract, let him know that he's going to be starting the season. They're going to give their rookie probably time to get a little bit seasoned and up to speed on everything, and really try to sell him on the notion that he will have a chance to start here. That's probably what I would be doing. But Russ, I'm sure, is going to want to fulfill his obligation to go up and meet with the New York Giants, Brian Daboll. It's a good organization. It's a good bunch of guys in there that want to talk to him. So I think he's going to want to do that, and I think it would probably be a little difficult for the Browns to keep him from doing that. So I think he probably will take both visits, and who knows? The Steelers might also want him back too if they don't sign Aaron Rodgers. So lots to happen over the next 3 or 4 days with this.
If Russ passes on them or if they pass on him, what's left?
Well, there's not much left really in the veteran QB market, because it almost seems like the Falcons are shaping up to want to hang on to Kirk. They're on the hook for $27.5 million of his salary for this year anyways. And then they owe him a bonus of $10 million on Monday. I've been writing that they will not trade or release him before the NFL draft. That's what I've been told by someone. So I'm going to go with that for now. I suppose that can change. Anything can change in these very fluid situations. But it seems to me they'll pay the bonus. And if you have to have him on the books for that much money, why not keep him around as a backup? And in the event Michael Penix goes down in week 2 with a torn ruptured Achilles, then you've got a really, really good backup. So I probably wouldn't move him if I were the Falcons. The only way I would do it is if there were some way that you could do some creative, crafty trade and recoup that $27 million in the form of draft picks or something like that. But he also does have a no trade clause. So there are a lot of extenuating circumstances here. And it just seems like a lot of red tape to try to wade through.
So if not Russell Wilson, then Joe Flacco could maybe be back on the board. Gardner Minshew, who just got released by the Raiders. Do you think Joe coming back is a possibility?
Well, I think that it has been on the radar, and I've written that. I think he is on the radar, but every veteran quarterback right now has had to kind of be on the radar while they work through this situation. I mean, even Daniel Jones was on the radar. But with some of these quarterbacks, if they want a chance to start, this is not the place a lot of them want to come. But maybe the Browns are trying to strategy with these QBs a little bit, such as with Russell Wilson, to say, hey, we're going to give you a chance. We're not going to bring you in here. We know that you're not one that's going to want to sit on the bench, so we're going to give you a chance to start. Joe, yes, Joe is on the radar, not necessarily front burner, because if he were, he would be wrapped up by now. So there are other opportunities that they're looking at, and Joe would be one of them. I don't know about Gardner Minshew. Maybe he's on the radar for them. Maybe he's not, but I think Joe would be.
Is there any world where Aaron Rodgers is in a Browns jersey?
I don't see it. I really don't see it. That's another one where if that were going to be a possibility, we would have heard something by now. Because the Steelers are firmly in the mix. The Giants are firmly in the mix. We've even heard whispers of the Vikings. We've heard nothing about the Cleveland Browns. And I've been saying that he really is not on their radar. He's not someone that they feel like is a fit. He's going to be looking for a big dollar number. That's a factor here, right? They have to get the money right with these guys. And that's why Kirk was going to be attractive in the beginning, because there was a world in which possibly you could have gotten him for $1.255 million, the veteran minimum for him. But I don't think Aaron is in the cards for the money reason and probably other reasons.
Mary Kay, we've talked about some of the Browns' moves already. In free agency, they've signed Malik Collins, Cornelius Lucas. They traded for Kenny Pickett. They signed JTS, as we're going to call him on this show. Are they done in free agency, or do you think outside of a quarterback, there could be another position Andrew Berry in the front office address in that market before it's all said and done?
Yeah, I don't think they're done yet. I think they like to dabble in that second wave of players and that third wave of players where you can get some bargains. So that's what they will be looking at. I do think that there will be a few other guys that come in here over the next couple of weeks, maybe even, after the draft, perhaps, depending on how things shake out there. So I think you can expect that. I don't think it's going to be a ton. This is not a great free agency class, and they were never expected to make a huge splash like they have in the past. But there will be some stragglers, and they'll add it.
Mary Kay, great stuff as always. We appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com. We've talked all Browns. This is probably the longest we've gone without talking about the Cavs in a long time. But there's, they didn't play yesterday. They're not playing tonight. So, but we're going to get to them now. Specifically, their newest, or one of their newest acquisitions, DeAndre Hunter. Mike?
Yeah, let's get a FanDuel read in. We'll talk some Cavs. March Madness is here, guys, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on, and the FanDuel app is simple and easy to use. When you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Guys, we have talked about DeAndre Hunter at length on this show. He's been incredible since joining the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Steve, you take tagboard full here. I put together some numbers since the Hunter trade, which just show how incredible the Cavs have been since acquiring DeAndre Hunter. Since the DeAndre Hunter deal, the Cavs are 14-0. They have the second best offensive rating in basketball, the second best defensive rating in basketball, the number one net rating in basketball. They rank top 5 in the NBA in rebounds per game, which was an area Kenny Atkinson said they had to improve upon. And bench points, they've fallen down to 10th with 41.1, but because of guys missing games, Donovan Mitchell missed a game the other night. Ty Jerome sat out. They've rested a few guys. Hunter's been in the starting lineup. So the bench points numbers, when Hunter actually comes off the bench, is within the top 5. But overall, it is at number 10. Jason, when we look at the overall impact DeAndre Hunter's made on this team so far, do you think he's made a bigger impact on the Cavs' offense or on the Cavs' defense?
Offensively, I would say offensively, because we knew he was good defensively, and he's been a better shooter than I expected him to be. So I would say offensively, but I think there's nuance to this because the biggest thing, and we talked about this morning, Mike and I talked about this morning on Coffee and Cavs or Cavs and Coffee, whatever the hell we're calling it now, that I didn't realize how impactful he would be at the 4 spot. And Kobe mentioned it when they traded for him that, he can play some backup 4 as well, and kind of made a mental note of that, but didn't really think about it too much. But the lineup with him at the 4 and Evan at the 5 has been more of a game changer than I realized it would be. And so if I have to pick offense and defense, I would say offense because we knew he was good defensively. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. But really, if you really want to get nuanced about it, it's the role that he holds as the backup 4 that has been the most pleasant surprise to me that I didn't anticipate coming. He has been an absolute perfect fit on this roster and was exactly what they needed.
I hate you because you stole my answer as far as.
Well, blame him. He went to me first.
I was going to say defense. I agree with you for what you said offense, but what you said defensively, or the fact that you could take Jared Allen, put him on the bench to close out games and be fine.
Yeah,
that's something that I never thought would be a thing. I thought you always want to have that two-headed monster with Jared and Evan down there, but the fact that they continue to close these games out with Jared on the bench, and you got Hunter who can do all these things defensively. Yes, we know he was good defensively, and yes, the three-point shooting on offense has been unbelievable. Even though I don't think his last couple of games he's been a little.
He's down to 50% on the season for the Cavs.
Last
couple. But anyways, but defensively is where the impact is for me because of the fact of to be able to run that lineup to close games. You literally match up with any team, with anybody, and still be able to get stops. We always go back to that. I think it was the Heat game.
It was.
Where they got like 7 stops in a row or something like that to close that game out. He played a huge part in that as well. So, to me, I think the biggest difference has been the defensive side of the ball.
They can put 5 shooters on the floor now.
Yes.
And they struggle.
And you are in trouble because if they go 5 out.
They couldn't really do that before, not with the level of shooting that they can now.
St. John's winning 15-3 over Butler right now.
Ohio State lost to Iowa last night.
Quarterfinals.
Disgusting.
Embarrassing.
I was disgusted.
Embarrassing. To me, listen, he's been great on both ends, so we're splitting hairs here. Yeah. But to me, it's the defense because if you look at those stats Mike put up about their number 2 in defensive rating, number 2, Mike's got all these ratings and these things that only 18 people know what the hell they are. But they're number 2 at both. If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, the Cavs were already either 1 or 2 in offense before Hunter.
Correct.
But I don't think they were. I think they were closer to 10 on defense before Hunter.
They're in the back half of the top 10, correct?
Okay, so they were good. Before they got Hunter, they were great on offense and they were good on defense. Since they've gotten Hunter, they're still great on offense, but now they've gone, I think, from good to great on defense. So that's why I'm going to go with the defense. But again, it's splitting hairs. He's been, as Jason said, an absolutely home run acquisition. He's been a perfect fit for this team. He's exactly what they needed. And, you think at the trade deadline, are you really going to get a player that makes the difference of them winning a championship or not? And we'll never know. If the Cavs do win a championship, we'll never know if they could have won it without DeAndre Hunter. But he might end up being the difference between them beating the Celtics or whoever comes out of the West or not.
Well, they traded him for Boston, with Boston in mind.
Right.
That's why they made the deal.
But and he could be the difference.
They didn't
it
hide
could be just
that.
enough of a difference.
I would say what's so impressive about him is very seldomly do you make a trade where you get rid of 2 players and that one player that you traded for is as good as both of those players combined. Because, Niang was good as far as a rebounder. He was your extra big.
Yeah.
He's a physical guy and all those things, and he could hit the outside shot.
Yeah.
Karis LeVert was probably one of your best dudes coming off the bench.
Right.
And now you got this guy who does it defensively, can get the stops, and he's scoring off the bench. Like, you got both of the production of those 2 players in one guy.
Even more.
And that's kind of crazy to me.
I think if you combine Niang and LeVert into one player, DeAndre Hunter's still better than that player.
They don't miss Karis at all.
Not at all.
No.
And maybe,
that's rare.
And maybe in a postseason series, there may come a point where we go, they could use a guy who can get his own shot right now. But to this point, They don't miss him at all.
Right. And he's just been a great fit. And you needed to cut down the rotation anyway because you're not playing that.
That was the point I made when they made the deal that we weren't really talking about was you had to streamline this thing. You can't.
Yeah.
Kenny can say all he wants about trying to play 10. You can't play 10 in a postseason series. You're not going to.
He might play 9 though.
What if he does?
Well, you're not going to play 10. You're not going to play 10.
Why do you think that?
Because you want your best guys on the floor. You got multiple days
I don't know who you cut out this rotation.
Let's look at this
It's
again.
easy, Ty.
Let's look at it again. The guys who are definitely in the rotation. We know the big 4. We know Strus and Hunter and Ty Jerome. That's 7 absolute.
And Dean Wade, if he's healthy, is the only backup big. Dean Wade is
so
in
Dean
that
Wade.
8
We're going to assume everybody's healthy. There's your 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sam Merrill's getting.
Is Sam Merrill or Isaac Okoro? Are they the only 2 for the 9th? Am I forgetting anybody?
There would be 9.
Javonte Green, maybe.
No. All right. So Sam Merrill or Isaac Okoro, are they either one of them? Will either one be a regular rotation member in the playoffs?
No.
No.
Now, that's not to say they're not going to play.
Right.
And they may have a game where they make a big impact.
Merrill gonna get. He gonna.
There's not going to be games where they both play, or at least both
This
play
is
more
how
than
it's
a couple.
gonna go.
They do completely different things.
Right.
So there could be a game where they both, but it's unlikely. We don't know fouls, injuries.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. That first series, whoever it's against, Okoro and Merrill is going to play. If they do nothing, it's done.
Ty, in the first series, they're going to play 10 guys. The question isn't what's the rotation against the Atlanta Hawks or the Chicago Bulls in the 1-8. The question is when you play the Boston Celtics.
Oh, they're not playing.
Right.
They ain't playing.
Are they
But
playing
they-
9, 10?
They're not
Even
playing.
if they do play 10 in the first round, Merrill and Okoro will play way less minutes than they would have in the regular season.
I don't even think they play 10 in the first round. I don't think
Right.
they do.
Probably
You don't
9.
think?
No, because you have multiple. You want your best guys on. It's the playoffs. You want your best guys on the floor.
Right.
You've got especially in the first round. You got like 2 days off between games. You got plenty of time to rest.
You don't sit Donovan and drop his minutes to 30 for the
No,
regular season
no.
just to only play him 31 in the postseason.
Right.
That's not how
No, in
basketball
the postseason
works.
he's going to play what? 38 minutes?
Yes, there's only
minutes.
So I mean,
36, 38.
I'm not saying
They
Sam's
probably
not
gonna
going to
play
play at all.
Orlando.
I'm not saying Sam's not going to play at all. I'm not saying Isaac's not going to play at all, but they're not going to hold big roles. There could be a moment where you need Isaac's
for 2-3
defensive
minutes.
presence.
Yeah.
I'll put him on an inbounder
Yeah.
or put on a defensive.
If they play Milwaukee, Isaac does an incredible job on Dame Lillard. He gives Dame more issues than almost any point of attack defender in
Right.
basketball.
Yeah.
If they
That's
play
a great
Milwaukee,
point. That's a great
Isaac
point.
could have a role like that.
Yes.
But to think he's going to get a consistent 10, 15,
Right.
20 minutes in a playoff series against Boston or some of the other teams later.
Well,
in the
I
playoffs.
wasn't going to say that many
Or even
minutes
a
at all.
situation, say there's 8 seconds left in a
You at least
quarter,
get 10.
and you got the ball on offense, maybe you bring out Sam Merrill as an extra
Absolutely.
3-point shooter
Absolutely.
in something like situations like that.
You get 10.
But he's not like what are Isaac Okoro and Sam Merrill's minutes per game this season?
Give me 1 sec. I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
Can I answer, while I'm pulling this up, can I give you my answer on the Hunter thing?
Yeah,
of
of
You
course.
guys all ended up saying offense.
No, we
I mean,
did
defense,
not.
sorry. Defense.
No,
I
Jason
said
offense.
I said offense.
Well, the answer's both. And it's to Jason's point earlier of your closing lineup now.
What kind of question was that? You
Well,
can't-
I was looking. I'm trying to read
question with
stats.
a
I'm looking up
trick
minutes.
I
I'm
mean,
talking
you're
at
out
the
of your
same
mind
time.
right now.
No, the reality
trick
is the fact
question.
that they can close games with him at the 4 and Mobley at the 5 without sacrificing a lot defensive, a little bit of rim protection without Allen. Granted,
Yeah.
but you still have Mobley, who's the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, and the spacing you gain from swapping out Allen and Hunter changes the entire geometry on offense. And they have more space to attack. They have more space to create. And defensively, Kenny's shown us he's fine and comfortable having DeAndre Hunter guard bigs in the paint. Minutes this season, Merrill and Okoro, ironically, averaging the exact same amount of minutes this season, 19.3.
Yeah, there's no way those guys are going to play 19 minutes a game. in the
No,
playoffs.
I didn't say that.
So even if they
I said 10.
well, but
No.
10.
no, they're not averaging. You think they're going to average 10 minutes? I bet maybe between them they'll average 10.
You know where you might
Maybe.
get 4 or
You
5?
can't get 10
You know where
minutes.
you might get 4 or 5 at the end of the first quarter and the start of the second.
Well, I said, Jason.
Well, I'm thinking that they're going to blow teams
I'm
out,
saying
so therefore
I
they'll get
could see
more
them
minutes.
maybe averaging 10 minutes between them
I don't even think they're going to get
at
to that.
most.
In
I don't
the
even think they're
first
gonna get that.
round?
It
10
depends.
minutes?
It depends on the matchups. I'm telling you, you want your
Those
best
guys are not playoff
You
players.
want your
Yeah,
best
you're right.
guys on the floor.
Yeah.
It's the playoffs.
minutes.
It's the playoffs.
It's 10 minutes.
All right,
You
so
got 2
Tyvis-
days off.
Tyvis, let me ask you this.
There's no way those
What
guys are
is
playing
Sam
10
Merrill
minutes.
doing that Donovan can't?
Ty, I'm going to give you the minutes for the
Well,
starters.
as of lately, hit threes. You want to go there?
Donovan and Darius can't hit threes lately. That's true.
I'm going to give you the minutes for the Cavs starters. Let's figure out what we think they'll play in a postseason series, and we'll see if they have the ability to squeeze in 20 minutes total for Okoro.
So let's say Donovan plays 38 minutes a game.
So that'd be up 7 minutes per game from where he's at right now.
Yeah, why not?
That's very reasonable. 38 to 40.
38 minutes.
So what
That's
do you
what I
think,
said,
Darius?
38 to 40 before. Let's say 38. Let's say Darius plays 38 also.
And you got to write this down.
There's no way. Ty
So
Jerome's
Donovan up
minutes.
7. Use your phone.
Ty Jerome's
Donovan up
getting
7.
minutes.
Darius, we're going to go 38. We'll be conservative, 38.
That's very conservative.
Okay,
What's
so
Jared Allen averaging?
So Donovan up 7. Darius up 8.
I would
Jared
go higher
Allen's
on
at 29
Darius,
minutes
but
right now. Where do you think
Jared
he
Allen's
plays?
averaged 29 minutes. I bet he stays around that.
It's going to go down.
You think he's going to go down from
Yeah.
29?
Because that's factoring in all of his minutes prior to
Early.
DeAndre getting here.
Right.
That's going to go down.
Okay. All right.
I think 29 is right in the range. I think it's about a
I would
wash.
say 25.
All right, let's split the difference, go 27.
So -2. Mobley's at 30 minutes.
Oh, he's playing more
He
than
about
that.
to say he might not lead the court.
I'd say 38-40 in that same range.
All right, let's do 39.
So +9 for Mobley. You have Hunter, who on the Cavs, this
Yeah.
is just his Cavs games, averaging 25.
Oh, that's going up.
33.
I was going to say
34.
32, 33.
All right, let's do 33.
So Hunter +7. Struce is at 25.
I think that's
Around
gonna,
that. Down a little?
I would go down a little with him.
Maybe
I would
23?
Leave it where it is.
All right.
We'll leave Struce where it is.
Okay.
Give
Dean
my boy
Wade's
some
at
minutes.
21.
Dean Wade's not playing 21 minutes.
No.
I'd say it's around, but probably a little lower, but around
18?
that.
Shave,
18?
shave my boy Sam 10 minutes.
What we're going to do is we're going to be over the amount of
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
in a game.
Go, all right, go 18 on Dean Wade.
That's what I'm getting to here.
Yeah, go 18.
And Ty Jerome is at 19 minutes a game.
Probably stay around there,
He'll
right?
stay there. And then, I mean, people are going to kill me for this, but I mean, kill me for everything else.
Yeah.
If anything, it'll go down.
All right, keep him at his same minutes. Then. So where are we at now?
Ant is doing the math on his phone. So up 7 +8, so that's up 15.
Yeah.
Down 2, so
13.
now we're 13.
I got it. I'll do the math. You give me the numbers.
Up 9,
22,
up 7,
29,
down 4.
25.
So now we're at 25 more minutes. So Tyvis, you want to add 20 minutes into, so you're going to take those from this and we'll play just 5 minutes more total for the starters?
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting here, Tyvis?
So if we have 25 more minutes
Depends
per
on the-
game,
depend on the
we got to
matchup.
take 25 away.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Right. So
That's the Merrill.
so keep 25. So Merrill and Okoro are averaging what?
Both averaging 19 minutes per game.
All right, let's say they average 5 minutes a game in the playoffs, those two guys. That's 28 minutes
In
right
the first
there.
round.
Although nobody else is going to play at all. All the other guys that have minutes, those guys ain't going to play at all except garbage time. Right? I mean, Jalen Tyson and
10 minutes.
Craig Porter Jr., those guys are not playing any legit minutes. Right?
Jason,
They're not playing
10
no.
minutes.
Maybe a
Not
minute or
unless
two
it's
here or there. You
garbage
never know.
time. Garbage
yeah,
time.
probably only garbage
Hey,
time.
real quick, just run through. I wasn't really following the way you guys did that. Just run through all the minutes again. I'm going to do this on my phone real quick. Just the numbers. Like Donovan was what we said.
Donovan was 38.
38.
plus. Okay.
Darius 38.
Yep.
Okay.
Mobley
Allen.
40.
Well, let me go in order because I have it
Okay.
here.
Yeah, go in order.
Yeah.
So Donovan 38.
Yep.
Mitchell, Garland 38.
Yep.
Allen, we went down to 27.
Okay.
Mobley up to 40.
Okay.
Hunter up to 32.
Okay.
Struce at 25.
Okay.
Wade at 21.
Okay.
No, we went down to 18.
Oh,
now.
Wade down.
Minus
18.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Jerome was at the same at 19.
19. That's 237 minutes in a 240-minute game.
That's about right. That's about right.
Yeah, that leaves 3 minutes per game.
Yeah. And maybe it ends up being 5 minutes per game.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And
then Okoro and Merrill split those 3 to 5 minutes.
And I actually think Jarrett may actually go down more than what we
Okay.
said. But I mean, one of those other
At
guys.
most, you're talking about.
I think we were generous on Darius. I think
Yeah.
Darius could play into the 40s.
At most, we're talking 5 to 7 minutes a game for the rest of the team.
Yeah.
At most.
Yeah.
So at most, Merrill and Okoro will average maybe 7 minutes per game between them.
Now there
total.
may be a game where there's foul trouble, and Merrill plays 10 or 11 minutes. That could happen.
And the way the Cavs have played, there should be plenty of garbage time in the first round.
There might be.
You would
I mean,
think.
who are they most likely going to play in the first round?
Orlando.
The whole playing in the Eastern Conference right now is a jambalaya of crap.
Well, I'm asking you to make predictions,
Orlando
Mike. You're a
or
basketball
Orlando,
guy.
Atlanta,
Who's going to win
Miami,
the play-ins?
Chicago.
Who do you think is going to win the play-ins?
Orlando, and Atlanta. I think will win a play-in. I do like Atlanta. To win a
Okay,
play-in.
so who would be the A seed, Orlando or Atlanta right now?
Well, right now those two would play the winner. So the winner would be the 7, and then the loser would play the winner.
So
of
who
Miami,
wins? Orlando
Chicago.
plays Atlanta. Who wins?
I think Orlando would win that,
All right, so the Cavs would play Atlanta.
or Miami. Yeah.
No, I mean, let's go. Get off the fence. Who they gonna play?
Atlanta's trying to lose. I'll go Miami. At least
Okay,
they're-
so you got the Cavs playing Miami. I mean, the Cavs should smack around Miami, no?
They should smack all those teams. It
Well, I
shouldn't matter out
mean,
of
well,
those four
Terry
to play.
Rozier is in the investigation right now. So,
What does that mean? What do you mean he's in the investigation?
did you not see his last performance?
I didn't even know Terry Rozier was still in the NBA, honestly.
He played terrible against the Cavs.
Man,
Yeah.
hey,
He's not scary anymore.
He doing
the only
bad.
thing scary is his game.
he doing bad. He must,
What did he do? He's in trouble?
He must owe some people a lot of money.
Oh, really?
That's what they say. It
boy.
was bad. It was bad. Yeah.
I don't want to see Isaac Okoro play in the playoffs, honestly. Does anybody want to see Isaac Okoro in the playoffs?
We've seen that twice.
He's
I want to
2 years
see.
in a
I
row
want to
now.
see Sam get a couple trades.
Sam will get hit a couple of minutes here and there.
Isaac's big opportunity was last year.
Yeah.
And he reverted to the same player he's always been in the playoffs.
So why they sign him?
In a certain matchup, if you need an extra defense, you're going to play Okoro a few minutes.
But they
in a certain matchup, if you need an extra shooter, you play Merrill a couple minutes. That's it.
They won't guard Isaac. No one is going to guard
Right,
Isaac.
right.
And now the Cavs have much more offensive firepower to withstand that, but there's no reason to play him.
Why play him?
There's no reason.
No.
But you're playing 4-on-5 on the offensive end
Right.
if you play him.
And he's the only guy. Even there's nobody else that you can't guard on the
And
Cavs.
Sam is a deficiency defensively. You can't switch everything with
He's
Sam.
been way better this year defensively.
Yeah,
Isaac's
but
all-
you really want to switch everything with Merrill in a playoff
No, but I'm just
series?
saying, to his credit,
No.
he has been much better.
But if he has to,
defensively.
if you bring him in for 3 minutes at the end of a half to get
Okoro
some
go
scoring,
shock the world. He gonna hit that first one.
if you had to bet,
That's probably the worst thing that could happen because then 4 more are going
if
up
you had
after
to
it.
bet, you have to bet Sam Merrill or Isaac Okoro who gets more minutes in the playoffs.
Oh, Sam Merrill.
Okoro.
You think Okoro? I'd say Sam.
Sam.
I think that the series, if they play Milwaukee,
Well,
he's
yeah.
terrific
It's-
against Dame. So I would go for the
You're
grand
right.
scheme. I'd go with
It's
Okoro.
matchup dependent.
Oh,
like
I mean,
it
isn't
depends on who they're
everything?
playing. Yeah, it depends on who they're playing.
All right.
All right,
There
guys.
you go.
Before we talk Guardians,
Yes.
I found maybe my favorite Cavs stat of the entire season, and we're gonna play a little guessing game to see if you guys can figure this out. Against the Blazers, a Sunday and a half ago, Ty Jerome had a 25, 6, 6, and 5 game. 25 points, 6 assists, 6 steals, 5 rebounds. With that performance against the Blazers, he became one of just 6 players this season to have a 25, 5, 5, and 5 game. 6 players in the entire NBA.
Got it.
25,
Yeah.
5, 5, and 5 in some capacity. It doesn't have to be points, assists,
Could
steals,
be
and
blocks
rebounds.
instead of steals.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Can you guys name the other 5 players in the 25, 5, 5, and 5 club along with Ty Jerome this season?
SGA.
That is one.
Ball.
LaMelo is not correct.
Bron?
LeBron is incorrect.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Nikola Jokic.
That is correct.
Oh, that was an obvious one.
Yeah, it was an
I don't know
obvious
what's
one.
wrong with y'all. The first 2 was obvious.
Giannis.
Incorrect.
Dame.
Incorrect.
Banchero?
Incorrect.
Donovan Mitchell.
Incorrect.
Darius Garland.
Incorrect.
Evan Mobley.
Incorrect.
Sheesh.
Anthony's done better than you guys so
Anthony Edwards.
far. Incorrect.
Tyrese Maxey.
Incorrect.
Larry Bird.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Incorrect. Larry Bird definitely did it before, but not in this list.
How many guys have we gotten?
You have gotten
Oh, Luca.
incorrect.
What?
Kyrie.
Incorrect.
Kyrie doesn't pass the ball.
There are 3 more. Ty Jerome,
I don't like this
SGA,
game.
and Jokic have done this.
There's
A
3 more.
25, 5, 5, and 5
Kevin
game this
Durant.
season. Incorrect.
Devin Booker.
Incorrect.
Jason Tatum.
Incorrect.
Jaylen Brown.
Incorrect.
It's
White.
probably
Kobe White.
Peyton Pritchard.
Incorrect.
Derek White.
These guys are all names. This is not like random. 25, 5, 5, and 5 is absurd.
Cade Cunningham.
Incorrect.
What?
Drew
How did
Holiday.
Cade
Incorrect.
Cunningham not do it? He puts
The
up
chat
triple-double.
is killing you guys.
Russell Westbrook.
Trey Young.
Incorrect to both.
The chat is killing.
The chat is killing.
De'Aaron Fox.
Incorrect.
Wemby.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is 4.
Well, you only guessed 2 players, Tyvis.
SGA.
Jokic. I got 3.
Wemby. You have 2 more.
Y'all ain't contributed none. I gave y'all 3.
One's in the East. One's in the West.
Jalen Brunson.
Incorrect.
James
Creative
Harden.
Juice, by the way, has gotten this on the chat. Creative Juice has
James
more.
Harden.
Incorrect.
No.
Norman Powell, my
Incorrect.
cousin.
Both of these guys are all-stars.
Hey, now. You're an all-star.
They're all-star.
AD?
Incorrect.
He was an all-star.
One was an all-star this year. One is
Steph Curry.
has been an all-star. Steph, incorrect.
I'm trying to think of the all-star team.
Evan 419 just got one of the 2.
All right already.
Well, it's not like we looking at the chat.
Oh, what's his name? Bankero.
That was
I
already
said
guessed.
that.
It was incorrect the first time. It is incorrect the second time as well.
He's sick. Hold on, because I'm going to get... Hold on, wait.
I could whittle it down. I'll give you some hints.
No, don't give us any more clues. We want to guess it.
Okay.
Josh Hart.
Incorrect.
No, he's not at all.
Carl Anthony Towns.
That was incorrect the first time. Once again, incorrect
Somebody
the second
said that?
time.
I don't
Yes.
remember saying that.
You guys have one more minute before I'm giving you the answer.
No,
we wanna
don't
go.
want you to
I
give
don't
us
want
the answer.
to. I'm done guessing.
Earl and I really did do better than
Hold
you
on,
guys.
I gotta look at. Hold on, let me look at the teams. I gotta
Don't look at the teams.
I gotta look
Indiana.
at the teams.
We did all the Indiana guys, right?
I gotta look at the
Well, I
teams.
feel like we're forgetting the team in the East. No, nobody else in Detroit besides Kate Cunningham.
It was a team the Cavs recently played.
Tyler Hero.
Right team, wrong player.
Bam Adebayo.
There's 5.
Who's the last guy? He's on the Memphis Grizzlies.
It's a very good team in the West.
The Lakers.
Nope. His teammates on this list.
Oh, so it's somebody else on the Thunder. Who's the other guy on the Thunder? Williams?
Jamal Murray.
Jalen Williams.
Jalen
There
Williams.
it is.
There you
Steve,
go.
take it full. This is the full.
Sheesh.
25, 5, 5, and 5 club this season. Look at the company Ty Jerome is with
That's
here.
crazy.
Jerome, SGA, Jokic, Jalen Williams, Bam Adebayo, and Victor Wembanyama.
They don't count in the chat. They probably Googled it.
Yeah, they cheated.
the
Evan 419.
chat-
Did you
Evan
cheat, Evan
419 cheated. I know he did.
By the way, in my, I don't know if I mentioned this on air, but if I did, I'll repeat it. Evan 419 in the YouTube chat for my podcast with Dustin earlier, his question was, what did you think of Jason's hat on the Ultimate Cavs? Go ahead. All right, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to give Ty Love some love. Ty Jerome some
that's
love.
good.
That's
That's
a crazy club. Guys, we're going to talk a little Guardians. A quick reminder, Jason and I did do an Ultimate Cavs show this morning, the latest Cavs and Coffee. We went over why it is disingenuous to both teams to compare this year's Cavaliers squad to that 2014-2015 Atlanta Hawks team that they often get compared to. It is not a good comparison, and we'll tell you why that is the case. It's on our YouTube page. Check it out. And now let's talk some Guardians.
Speaking of which, 2 weeks from today is opening day in Major League Baseball. We'll have the next Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show 2 weeks from today. Zach and I will be on 10 a.m. on opening day, and then we'll be on 9 a.m. for the home opener 2 weeks later. But 2 weeks till baseball starts. Jason has joined. I've been in this fantasy baseball league for for over 30 years, and Jason has joined this year. Are you confident that you're going to do well or
No, because I've always done AL only. I haven't done an NL team.
Well, you better be
league.
prepared.
I haven't done an NL league in a long time.
Yeah, well, 2 weeks.
even
The
know
draft
what
is
that
in 13
means.
days.
National League.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
We asked the question, pretty simple. Who's the Guardians' X factor this season? The biggest swing guy if they play well. The Guards have a chance to be really good. If they don't play as well, then the Guardians could be in trouble. You each gave us a different answer. Tyvis tried to change his answer.
And Bull took
Bull
it.
had already taken it.
Now, there's never going to be just one guy that's going to
So
swing
he's stuck
that,
with
but,
his.
But go ahead. Tyvis, who's your guy?
I can't say who I want to say because somebody decided to take it. But
I don't know what to
I'll
tell
go
you.
with the answer that I said. I said Brian Rocchio. Reason I went with Brian Rocchio is for the simple fact that, which one of him was your guy?
It was Bull's guy.
Okay. The reason that I wanted to go with him, now I'm talking about last year, you had a bold prediction.
Oh,
for
yeah,
him.
right. Yeah.
But the reason I'm going with him is because when he played well, he was the X factor to me in the playoffs. You know, he made some of those big time hits. And at this time, when you look at the Guardians lineup, you know, losing Josh Naylor, that's big. Like we need sticks. We need to lengthen the lineup. We got to get hitting throughout the lineup. And I think where he's going to be at in that lineup, they're going to need something down there. So I think he's going to be the guy that is what Bull thought he would be this year.
All right, Jason, who's your guy?
I like that.
Thank you. I'm an expert, you know.
He was my second choice was Roku.
Oh, well.
I thought about Roku. I do think it's a really good choice because he's got to hit better than he did last year, and he showed in the postseason that he can. My guy isn't a guy who, if he doesn't play well, they're going to tank or they're going to fall flat. But I do think if he performs well, it's going to unlock another level that no one is counting on, and that's Tristan McKenzie. Because of all the potential that he's got. We know how good he can be. We know about the tear in his elbow that he tried to pitch through last year. He's foregone surgery to this point. And the velocity is back. The command is still iffy. It's not a surprise. And some of the research that Zach and I did last year when we first wrote about this, that's one of the telltale signs of what he's trying to pitch through. But if he can command his fastball, if he had a tremendous curve last year, and now that the velocity's back, if he can have confidence in what he's doing and that he can pitch through this, if he can get back to the pitcher that he was a couple of years ago, that is a game changer for this rotation. When you talk about Tanner Bybee, I think Gavin Williams is going to have a monster year personally.
I agree.
And when you talk about some of the additions that they've made in the offseason, if you can now slot McKenzie into that, say, 2 or 3 slot, it lengthens this rotation. It gives them another option, insurance against injuries. And it's somebody nobody's really talking about right now, and rightfully so, because you just don't know. But if he can command his stuff, and if he can continue to throw like this, he could really take this rotation to another level.
Is Shane Bieber pitching this season?
Yes.
Later in the year.
Well,
I don't know that it's a guarantee he's pitching this year, but probably.
Because I had seen him pitching in the spring. I seen him throwing.
Yeah, he's throwing by July or August.
Okay. I think late July,
so
early August.
If they make the playoffs, he'll be
in
the rotation.
Yeah. Should be. Both good choices. Rocchio and McKenzie were both on my short list of consideration. And McKenzie's had a weird spring training because, as you said, his velocity's up, but he's still not commanding, and he's getting hit hard.
Yeah.
But it is a major positive that his velocity's up. I think that's a big positive. And Rocchio, I expected. I think Rocchio. Part of the reason I didn't pick Rocchio is because I feel like I have a level of expectation now for him that I'm confident he'll get to. The guy I picked was Bo Naylor because
that's what I wanted.
The Guardians don't have a particularly good lineup. They had a mid-tier lineup last year, and it's worse on paper. Bo Naylor was a huge disappointment last year. I mean, his OPS, that's horrible. 614 is horrible.
Yep.
Now, the one hope, Bo Naylor's got a ton of ability there. And if you have a lineup that has spots in right field where you usually get production from players and the Guardians are not going to get it, well, then you hope to get production from a position that other teams don't, and that's catcher. There's not a lot of good hitting catchers. And even in a terrible season, he still hit 13 homers, which there's not that many catchers that hit more than that. But Bo Naylor needs to become a more well-rounded player. I think the hope is that he can someday hit, 260 with 25 home runs. And I wouldn't be surprised if he made a big jump this year. On the other hand, I also wouldn't be surprised if he sucks and they're moving on and looking for another catcher in 2026. So I think there's a lot of boom or bust potential with Bo Naylor, more than most players on this team. And so that's why I went with Bo Naylor.
It's a big year for him. This is a really big year for him.
He's got to take a big step this year.
Well, 2 years ago, he was really good on the offensive side. Last year, he was really good defensively.
I wouldn't say he was really good.
He was really good like the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, he
the end of the season, he was really good, and then last year he fell on his face.
Yeah.
Which is not uncommon with young
Not
guys.
uncommon at all, especially with catchers, because there's a lot to adjust to in the majors.
Is Hedges
more
still
than
on
anybody
our
else.
roster?
What's that?
Still got Hedges
on the roster.
Okay.
ESPN just did a giant feature on Austin Hedges. Did you see that?
ESPN did?
No,
Yeah,
we
giant.
did. It wasn't us, or was it ESPN?
I thought it was ESPN.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you're right. I think
They
you're right.
stealing plagiarism.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it was Tim Kirkshin wrote a giant feature on Kirkshin, why everyone loves Guardians catcher Austin Hedges, like a 2,000 word column on.
I would love for him
Hedges.
to come on this show.
That'd be awesome.
I think he'd be
Great
really,
personality.
They say he'd be really good, like to fit in, like as a person.
I'm sure he
that
would.
just
He'd
sat
be
there.
awesome. I have no problem with him as a backup catcher. I just don't want him to be the starter.
He's a pitcher.
Hey, Bull,
What?
I put in the chat,
Yeah.
of these three choices, who do you think is the biggest X factor of the three? We have over 300 votes. And I bring this up because this may be the closest poll we've ever had, where all three are within percentage points of each other. So it's still going on, but with over 300 votes, who's the biggest X factor? Naylor, Rocchio, McKenzie. It's changing by the minute as stuff comes in. But right now, McKenzie is your winner at 36%, Naylor at 32%, Rocchio tied at 32%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's,
Three-way.
I mean, they're all.
That
They
is
all
the closest. That is the closest it's ever been.
listen, if all three of those guys are good this year, the Guardians are in great shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all three of those guys suck this year,
And they
not
actually
good.
they actually have more insurance against my guy than anybody. Like if McKenzie's
Yes.
awful,
yes.
okay, they
It's
have
not the
enough.
end
But
of
it
world.
would
If
be an
Rocchio
X
and
factor,
Naylor
though.
There's a
are
lot
awful
more
again,
upside to McKenzie being good than there is the downside if he's not.
Yes.
But if all three, if Naylor and Rocchio reach their potential and McKenzie can stay healthy and get his command,
forget
like
about
that
it.
could that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge because now you got this good bullpen and there'll be some regression. There's got to be some regression in the Guardians bullpen. I think you got to go into the season expecting that a little bit. They got a lot of talented arms in that pen, top to bottom. I mean, across the board in that bullpen is a lot of talented arms. But some of their great pitchers from last year probably won't be as good, and maybe other guys will be better. I know Sobrowski is going to be on IR or on the IL to start the season.
I want to see that outfielder. What's it, Tyler Naquin? I want to see.
Oh, is the pitch? Well, he's not going to be in the majors.
No, he ain't getting in the majors, not at all. But I just want to see what his numbers in the minors look like.
I mean, he could be in the majors at some point. If
It
he's-
could
if he does a
be.
good enough
Hey,
job. You never know.
I did a story the year of the pandemic. Actually, I did
Yeah.
a story on Anthony Gose trying to
Right, yeah.
and how hard it is for position players to become pitchers. In part because you just can't throw them. Like there's only so many bullets at one time. You can only
Yeah.
throw so many pitches, and then you have to stop and rest. It's not
Right,
like you can swing as many times as you want.
Yeah.
But with pitching, you only have so many pitches in you, and then you got to stop and rest for 3, 4, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's a long progression to figuring this out, to doing this that you probably wouldn't even consider.
By the way, the first Major League Baseball regular season game is Tuesday at 6:05 in the morning. Cubs-Dodgers in Japan.
Didn't they do that last year?
It was
It was
Dodgers
the
last
Padres
Padres,
versus
Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
I will be up at 6 a.m. to watch those games.
Will
Will you guys be getting up at 6 a.m. to watch?
No, but I will have a bet placed.
I'll be getting up at 6 a.m. to get my kids on the bus. And maybe
The
I'll
Guardians'
turn
first
the TV
game, March 27th at Kansas City. Their home opener, April 8th against the White Sox. Guys, it is
All
rapidly
4 o'clock
approaching.
games, I think, right?
You know what?
Yes.
If I've started my new gig,
Yeah.
I will be up.
There you go.
Yeah, I have it right
Get it
on.
on.
All right, we got a bunch of super chats, so let's get to them. First one comes from Carter Groff Tolbert, who says, "Keep going, guys. You all were my escape for me when I was in the hospital with my newborn daughter for 3 months last year. I'm now an everyday listener."
We
I
appreciate it,
appreciate
Carter.
that. Thank you.
Hope everything's
Hope your
okay with
daughter's
your
well.
daughter
Yeah.
if you were in
Yeah.
the hospital for 3 months.
Yeah.
So hopefully all is well.
Next one comes from Ron Bishop, and his name gets cut off, so it's Ron Bishop something. Inside sources stated that Russ will not play in Cleveland because Sierra might fall for G. Bush. That's true. That's true.
That's definitely a possibility. Man, she's gorgeous. It would be nice to have her around.
Earl said it best. Her and Coco Jones, man, Cleveland
Yeah.
will be on fire.
I
And
talk-
they got Taylor Swift when Kelsey's
I
visiting.
ain't talking about other man's woman.
Man.
By the way, Jim, speaking of gorgeous women, Jim Gaffigan had a very funny line. He was talking about, he's like, it's weird watching a movie when there's a gorgeous woman. He's like, Halle Berry. He talked about this movie she was in where she was like abused. I can't remember the name of the movie. And he's like, and she couldn't get a job and she was homeless. And he goes, and I was just thinking, why doesn't she become a model? What is? It was much funnier
not the
when he
movie with
told
Billy
me.
Bob,
Trying
is
to
it?
repeat jokes was a bad idea. I apologize.
That's the movie with Billy Bob?
It might have
Monster
been that
Ball?
one. I don't know. But it was
Monster
funny
Ball. That was a good movie.
when he told me.
She won.
Hopefully I'll be funnier at the comedy show than I was
Yeah.
just now.
All right, next up, BD Dog 21 says Shador at 2. If he's ready to start him, Pickett can win you a few games. Shador
No, he
will be
can't.
ready sooner than later. He's going to shock everybody.
Kenny Pickett can't win you any games. Let's go.
They go,
0-17?
You know what's going to happen?
Well, no, but I mean, like, he's not going to win you games. He may be along for the ride as you win, but he won't win you games.
They're going to start OTAs, and all you going to hear is Kenny Pickett look good out there.
Yeah, with his tiny hands.
That's what with
he
two
and Trump
gloves,
with the tiny
two
hands.
gloves swag.
Go ahead.
Vigilant Hawk says, on the one hand, I read that wrong. Let me start over. From Vigilant Hawk. 1 in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. We don't know what the 2026 QB class will be. Drafting a quarterback is the easiest, but is also the least Cleveland thing to do. Break tradition. Worst case, pick high again next year.
It's true.
If you like him, yes. But you can't. I don't want to.
It's not as punitive drafting a quarterback in the first round if you screw it up.
No, but if you don't like him, how do you take him?
Well, if you don't like him, no, that's
better not.
That's my point.
You better not.
Yeah, of course
That's
not.
the only point.
Of course not. Yeah.
You can't just blindly take a quarterback because you need a quarterback.
No, but
you got to actually like him.
you could if
Which
you
is
like
why
him.
they going for
if you
Russell
like
Wilson.
him and you're maybe not 100% confident, but you like him, I feel like you could take that chance more than you could in the past.
I
when
don't
you had to
disagree.
pay him.
I don't disagree with that.
But no, if you're like, Shador's not that good. We can't just draft him because he's a quarterback. No, go ahead.
Brody's bottom line says, I'm sure Myles doesn't care, Jason.
He doesn't. He got paid. Why would he care?
Yeah, cool. Okay.
NP Barlow says, Myles is Jared Allen. Chubb is Mobley. Great players, but can't be your locker room voices. That's got to be the quarterback. Donovan is the quarterback.
Who?
Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, sorry.
He's saying that the Browns
I was
need
thinking
a
Deshaun
voice.
Watson when you said Donovan. I'm
No,
like,
he said
No.
he's saying
Yeah,
the
I got
Browns
you.
need a voice.
So right now, Myles is Donovan on that team.
Right, and that's not good. He's not a good Donovan.
Herbie G says, Jimmy Haslam or Jerry Jones? Question mark.
Both of them paid me, so I'm out.
To be fair to Jerry, even though I wouldn't want him either, he's done a lot more winning than Jimmy has done.
No, he hasn't.
Now he's been around a lot
said
longer.
no.
He doesn't hide the fact that he's the GM.
Yeah.
And
I guess I'd rather have Jimmy. I guess.
I got paid by both. I'm out.
God, they're both awful.
They both good in my books.
Jerry Jones is terrible.
Especially the Cowboys. They're the reason I got my pension. Shout out to
At
them.
least Jerry's a decent actor. He was good in that scene in Landman.
he was good.
We have 2 from Christopher Waits. I'm going to read them back to back.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do one, and then we'll react because it has to do with the bullpen. First one from Christopher Waits. Myles never was a good leader, not a winner, and only concerned about his stats. The heart and soul of the Browns was Baker, and Kevin Burkhardt even told Bo that on his podcast.
That's not fair because when they had their successful season, I don't think Myles was he had a great season, but I don't think he was. That was the first time he wasn't even talking about
I'm done discussing
DPOY.
Baker. It's enough years already.
Yeah,
it's
I
over.
agree with that. Nobody I shouldn't say nobody. Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of people in that locker room that would agree that Baker was the heartbeat of that
He
team.
was not the heartbeat. Baker has changed. He's a different guy now.
Yeah.
He's a good he seems to be a good leader now.
Would you take him back?
Old news.
If he said
Yes.
if he said he wanted to be
He's
traded
better
back
than the
to
options
Cleveland.
they have
Better
right
than the
now.
options they have now?
Yes,
That's
I would
true.
take him back.
Right.
Christopher Waits also says, Shador will be a winner. It's in his DNA. He'll want to live up to his dad. Draft him.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, Bronny wants to be a winner. It's in his DNA. Is he
I'm
gonna
sure
live up
Michael
to his
Jordan's
dad?
kids wanted to be a winner. Pete Rose Jr. wanted to be a winner.
Hey, you better watch it. LeBron will pull up on you.
How's Larry Bird's kids doing in this?
You see how
How's
he's pulled
Magic's
up on me
kids
You
plenty
see
doing?
of
how he
times.
did Stephen A. Don't
He's
leave
pulled up-
Bronny out of this.
He's pulled up on me. There weren't cameras there.
We got one more.
Yeah.
Brody's bottom line says, Bull, what's the best fantasy baseball league I can join?
I mean, he can't.
I want a specific answer. I want the
How am I supposed to give him a lead to?
because you're
I
Bull.
only do one fantasy baseball league. With football, I do a million leagues.
You
With
only do
baseball, I
one?
I only do one.
Is it a keeper or y'all?
No, it's not a
See,
keeper.
and that's the other thing I'm concerned about with this league.
What?
You got to be a keeper league. This redraft stuff.
It's great.
Nah.
Who
great.
are you taking with the first pick if you had it?
I don't have the first pick. I have the
Otani's pitching this
12th
year.
pick or whatever.
I have the last pick. I
yeah.
chose
Is
the last
Otani going first because
Yes.
he's pitching
Yes.
this year?
Yes.
Even if he wasn't, yeah, he'd still probably go first.
Now I'm about to say,
But he's going first. Yes.
is Juan
100%.
Soto going two?
No. No.
Probably not. But he'll be in the top
Bobby
5.
Bobby Witt will go too.
Yeah.
Oh no, well, Bobby Witt got hurt yesterday.
He's fine.
What's the dude from the Orioles that I like.
Gunner.
Yeah, Gunner Henderson.
He's top pick.
He's top
10.
Yeah.
So y'all ain't gonna get none of these guys.
No.
No. How many teams?
How many in it?
16.
And I got the 16th pick. But I took it. I wanted the bottom pick.
Well, you didn't have a choice. I mean, you didn't have a choice.
I was
of
at
two
like
men.
It's
12.
snake order,
Yeah, it was
right?
like
It's
12,
snake
yeah.
order.
So I'll go
yeah.
back. I'll go back to back.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, once after the top like 8 or 9, like there's not between 10 and 25. All the guys are
Francisco.
just who you like more.
Francisco Lindor.
Lindor, like that might be a guy that Jason or I take late in the
I
first
think
round.
I
early
broke
second.
my wrist, everybody.
All right,
That's
we'll
why
see
I'm
you on
winning.
overtime.
We got a fun topic to discuss.
I'm a hoop.
Okay.
I was
We
hooping
talked
and I
about
broke
tribute
it.
videos.
Oh, yeah.
Something else has gone way too far now too.
Oh, yeah, this is a problem.
What
Yeah.
Coming up
videos?
in overtime.
We'll see you in overtime. Peace.
What?